Blizzy King. You're now rocking with Uncle D. Blizzy King. You're now rocking with Uncle D. Hit subscribe.
Subscribe to my guy, Uncle D. Tell him Big Bass sent you.
Dennis Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas, an advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father, I have black sons. Hey man, I do what I do.
What's up? Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the broadcast. Shout out to my man, Mr. 43TX. What's happening, baby? Uncle D had to get out of that backyard because it is hot back there, but I got some more broadcasts coming. What's up, everybody? Look, man, let me make this plain and from the outset. We are not all the same, and we were never all in this together, okay? Too long, foundational Black Americans, those of us whose ancestors were dragged here in chains, whose blood watered the soil of this nation, who fought every inch for the rights of others, rights that they now casually enjoy, have been lumped into a vague, generic category of Black. Okay, we'll call that flat blackness. All right, that's what we've been lumped into. All right, and in that category, we've been robbed, we've been silenced, we've been erased, we've been replaced, but not anymore. No, sir. Today we draw a line. This isn't about hate. This is about history. This isn't about division. This is about dignity, and it's about making sure that what belongs to us doesn't keep getting handed out to those who didn't suffer with us, fight beside us, or build with us. While our ancestors were picking cotton and chopping tobacco and cutting sugar cane in Louisiana, fighting Jim Crow and marching through tear gas for civil rights, and others were watching from the sidelines, or worse, they were collaborating with the same colonizers who crushed us. And now they want to show up late to the table, eat off the plate, a plate they didn't help prepare. They want access to all of the different rights that we fought, including minority contracts, whatever diversity slots are left, and crazy talk, they want reparations. Just think about that. But with no lineage, no loyalty, and no respect. And that ends here. Delineation is not division. It's protection. It's strategy. It's survival. Because the next time they say Black, we're going to ask which Black. And if you can't trace your roots back to American slavery and beyond, actually, because our people pre-existed slavery, okay? If you can't trace your roots back to a time before 1860, then you don't get to eat off our name or our pain or our legacy. We are foundational Black Americans. We built this country, and we're taking our identity and our power and our justice back. It is it's lineage based when I talk about FBA, or foundational Black American. It's Black Americans who are descended from Africans who are enslaved in the United States, but we're not African. We're not genetically identical to the sub-Saharan Africans and the Africans either from the West Coast or Central Africans. It's racial because we have Black people who light bright, darn near white, and we also have Black Americans who are pitch black and black as midnight. Nevertheless, what we're talking about are those whose ancestors built this country through centuries of unpaid labor and endured the brutality of slavery, survived Reconstruction, and Jim Crow. That we survived redlining, mass incarceration, and every form of oppression unique to the American experience. Okay, here's what FBA means. Okay, it's more than it's not a it's FBA is not a nationality, it's a lineage. It includes recent uh, people who can trace their roots back to African Americans here in the United States. Because the truth is, there are some Black people who've moved, but they're still foundational Black Americans. You understand? And so when we talk about FBA, then we don't want to be African American because that's a catch-all phrase. You see, that includes all Black people in America who came from Africa. It also includes Black immigrants. You see, the other thing is Black is more of a racial designation, and it includes anybody of African ancestry. Whereas foundational Black American is very lineage specific. It's a designation, and only those whose ancestors were enslaved in the U.S. will fall into that category. So this delineation is perfectly suitable for us. And again, this is not about hate. It's about clarity. It's about justice. It's about delineation. And it's so that people can't come in and take advantage of what we've done. So we're not, what it says is we're not immigrants. It says we are the foundation. It says we're owed a specific debt. We don't let others hijack our claim. So when people ask what is FBA, the answer is FBA is a lineage of people who built the United States from the ground up, under chains, under whips, and under constant attack, and yet survived and created, resisted, and continue to fight for justice in our own name. And that fight is not transferable. And it also includes those who predated the Constitution of the United States, who predated this country's founding. It includes free Black people who were in this country before slavery started and afterwards. Now, of course, many of us have relatives who might have been free even before slavery, but they intermix. Now, the idea that Black Americans are indigenous to the Americas because we're Native American is not supported by the most credible archaeological and genetic evidence, okay? We're not Indians. Now, I know there's a lot of people who say we are, and I look at some of the examples. For instance, there's this example of the Lucia woman, okay? That was one of the oldest human skeletons found in South America, and it dated back to 11,500 when it was first discovered in Brazil in 1975. The Lucia skull appeared to resemble features more commonly associated with Australo-Malaysian or African populations, and this led some to speculate that she might be a person of. It was allegedly the Black evidence of the Black presence in America, but this interpretation was flawed. Okay, in 2018, DNA analysis confirmed that Lucia and others remains from this region of Brazil were genetically indistinguishable from the modern Native Americans. In other words, she was not an African per se, but part of the same earlier migration from the Northeast Asians that populated the Americas, okay? Now, here's the thing. So if Lucia wasn't African, then there's what? That didn't produce credible evidence that sub-Saharan Africans were here 10,000 years ago, not in that form. The truth is, okay, and I want you all to listen to me because I'm here to talk and I'm here to educate you. The truth is, more recent, even more remarkable African people did reach the Americas before Columbus, but not 10,000 years ago. They came within the last 1,000 years, at least, through deliberate exploration and seafaring, not some prehistoric migration. We came over here in luxury ships. You understand what I'm saying? We came over here as explorers. Look at Emperor Abubakar II of Mali in 14th century, centuries before Columbus. Abubakar is said to have abdicated his throne, which means he gave it up, and he launched a massive naval expedition westward across the Atlantic Ocean. And according to Arab historians like Al-Amuri, he was convinced that there was lands beyond the sea, and he sent hundreds of ships to explore. And though most mainstream historians downplay the success of the voyage, oral traditions, and African navigational knowledge of the transatlantic currents, they all support the possibility that some African explorers did reach the Americas. And in fact, early European explorers and chroniclers, including Christopher Columbus, reported encountering dark-skinned people and African-style goods in the Caribbean and Central America. And this makes more sense, okay? This makes more sense. Rather than being Native Americans in the archaeological sense like Lucia and the Clovis people, the African presence in the Americas before 1492 likely came from advanced African civilizations like Mali and intentionally traveled west. So when some of my Black American brothers say we were already here, the most accurate explanation is not that we were one of the first, we walked over here from Siberia, but that our African ancestors were seafarers, that they were literate, and that they were empire building people who traveled here within the past millennium. This narrative doesn't erase our African heritage. It reinforces it by showing that we come from bold explorers and rulers, not just captives of the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, in short, my estimation is that this Lucia Africa that a lot of people depend on, she wasn't African. And Native Americans, in the sense that we know as Indians, are genetically linked to their Asian ancestors. African contact with the Americans happened later through deliberate voyages like those of Abubakar II. And this means we're not indigenous because we're Native Americans. We're here because Africans came here on purpose long before European colonialization. And this distinction matters because it helps us to build a more accurate, empowering narrative rooted in African achievement, not myth or misinformation, okay? Now, why we reject the term African American now, all right? You guys hit the #1 button if you can hear me. And if you learn something, I should earn something, okay? I'm going to explain to you. I want to deal with something because many of you are too young to understand why we came up with the term African American, okay? Why is that even a thing, okay? Because I know some of y'all still are emotionally attached to the term African American. And I understand why. I'm not here to tear down our elders or their legacy, but I'm here to explain why we are walking away from that label that no longer fits and probably never did. See, back in 1998, okay, Jesse Jackson, who was a famous civil rights leader, he worked with Dr. Martin Luther King and so on and so forth. He actually ran for president. He pushed hard for the adoption of the term African American as our collective racial identity. And at the time, that made sense to a lot of people because in the 1990 US Census, this is 1990, our official racial designation was either Black or Negro, okay? Yes, Negro. We were still Negroes in 1990. And it still tied us to the plantation language and white supremacist taxonomy, all right? And Jesse Jackson stood up and said, hey, it's time to go from being called Negroes to being called African Americans. And he wasn't wrong in this moment. He wanted to give Black Americans a term that reflected cultural heritage and dignity rooted in our ancestral origins, not just in skin color. And he wanted us to be seen not as coloreds, not as Negroes, but as a people with history, a people who were forcibly severed from a continent and deserve to be reconnected to it, at least symbolically. And for a time, that worked. It gained traction in the media and education and government documents. But see, here's the thing. By the year 2000, the U.S. Census officially recognized African American as an option, and Jesse Jackson, through the Operation Push and his presidential campaign, he helped mainstream the identity in a political and cultural moment where we were desperate for self-definition, but that moment has passed, family, okay? Because here's the problem. African American is not specific enough. It's vague, it's geographic, and worst of all, it's been co-opted by white South Africans. Hashtag Elon Musk. You understand? They're naturalized in the United States, and many of them have the audacity to check the box marked African American. People ask me, well, isn't Elon Musk an African American? He was born in South Africa. No, he is a white settler colonialist from a country that enforced apartheid and crushed Black Africans under its boot for generations. That man is no more African American than a white man born in Tokyo is a Japanese American. This is exactly why we're done with this term. We are foundational Black Americans, the direct descendants of the American chattel slavery system and the Black people who were here at the founding of this country. We are people who were born from the bowels of the country's original sin. We were forged through genocide, through chains, through rape, through unpaid labor. We survived Jim Crow, redlining, lynching, convict leasing, the Klan, COINTELPRO, what else? Mass incarceration, the war on drugs, really the war on us. We built this country. We're not Africans in America. We are foundational Black Americans, okay? So no, we're not African American. We don't owe our identity to a continent that never came to save us. They never sent one boat, one plane to bring us back, okay? We owe it to our ancestors, to those who endured for centuries under systematic oppression in the United States without reinforcement, without repatriation, without reparations. And let me make this brutally clear. Our rejection of the term African American is not a rejection of our phenotype. We love our beautiful Black selves. Shout out to all the beautiful Black people out here of all colors and persuasion. Shout out to all the beautiful Black people. Shout out to you. We love our color. We love our features. We love our thick lips and our broad noses and our beautiful bodies. We love ourselves. You understand me? It's a rejection of the political bait and switch that has allowed every immigrant with dark skin to pretend they share our lineage and thus share in the justice that we alone are owed. And this is not about vocabulary. This is about lineage. It's about a legal status. It's about reparative justice. Because if you don't define who you are, the world will define it for you and steal everything that belongs to you in the process. Have you seen what the African Union is trying to do? Region 6? Region 6? Y'all keep calling yourselves African American. Well, it's time for to be African. Let us get some of the reparations, Region 6. So nevertheless, we honor Jesse Jackson, who tried to do it. But let's also understand that the mission has changed. He gave us the best weapon he could at the time. But now we're in a new battle, and it requires sharper language, and we are foundational Black Americans. We are not African immigrants. We are not Caribbean immigrants. We are not Black in some symbolic, watered-down, multicultural sense. We are the heirs of the American nightmare, and we're the rightful claimants of the American debt, and we no longer ask permission to define ourselves. We got this, okay? Now, I'm going to show you guys some video footage, as I do oftentimes. I want y'all to take a look at what we got, okay? You guys hit the #1 button. Let me know if you can hear me, and I will be doing my very best not to talk over the videos, but y'all know me. I'm going to have something to say if something strikes me. Praise God. Hallelujah. So let's go ahead and commence with the video footage. You guys hit the #1 button, man. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Now, one thing I want to point out is that part of the reason that we need to delineate, because some of these immigrant folk, they don't even like America. All right. So y'all hit the #1 button. I'm going to go ahead and let it play. Okay. Let's take a gander at this. And if you can hear it, I'm gonna let it play now.
Parents and their
Boom, bada, bing. Let me see. All right, okay, here we go.
And they hear the stories of their parents.
Now this fella's a Hispanic fella, and he's talking about the general image. Okay. And when I say the general immigrant experience, he's going to tell you what immigrants really think. Unlike foundational,
There's people that came to this country illegally at a point, and they never embraced America. They never cared for it. They were here to make money and send money back.
Right.
They ended up staying
I'll tell
here
you
and
that
having
too.
children in the U.S.
Most of these immigrants are here to make money and leave. That's what they're here to do.
So as their children grew up in the U.S., they never taught them to love this country. Now those kids who are U.S. citizens because they were born here have grown up with that anger towards the U.S. And every time something happens, they got to use their race as a crutch and say it's because you're racist.
Oh.
And they hear the stories of their parents and their grandparents of how great life was in Mexico.
Yeah.
And that
But they've
also
never
applies
been to Mexico.
Ghana and these other places.
And if
too.
they have, it's been for little vacations. They don't understand what it is like your power went out or your Wi-Fi doesn't work
Right.
or the toilet ain't working, which would have been a disaster for me today. Let's just clear that up.
Full circle. Thank you, Art.
Would have been a disaster. All they know is their parents told them everything was great over there.
Right.
And then they look into their own, prison history of, the Aslan overtake
Yeah.
and how this land was theirs. And then when you tell them it was bought and paid for by the U.S. after the Mexican-American War, and they say it was forced. Dude, let me tell you something. If I'm in a war with you and I want to take your land
Right.
and I just whoop your rear end
Yeah.
from the north of California to the southern tip of Arizona, I'm not paying you for the land.
All right, so this gentleman gave us some good points. A lot of immigrants who come to this country, they don't love America. They always know they have an opportunity to go back home. It's like a man that has a bunch of different women. If he always knows that he can go back home, then he's not necessarily going to be loyal to that one woman. He's not going to put it all in. Foundational Black Americans, we understand we don't have anywhere else to go. And so because of that, we're all in, okay? We are all in, we're all with it. And we know we have to make the best of the situation that we're in. And so because of that, we fight for America. We fought in every major war. We fought in all the skirmishes. We fought to defend it, even defend its rights, even when in situations we didn't have all the rights that we were fighting for. Shout out to Intricately Tangled. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you. Keep talking over the videos. I'm here. So you like your men ghetto and loud. I don't go to the movies with me. I will out talk. Can you see that? Don't go in that room. Yeah, but anyway, I got to cut that out, man. Thank you so much, sweetheart. I'm gonna read all the super chats when we finish with it. Thank you so much. But anyway, so there's another reason why we want to do all these flag burners. We didn't burn flags when we were out there protesting. Okay, we were not out there burning flags, but these immigrants are burning flags. We need to delineate. If you look at some of these, even the Black immigrants, when you look at some of their comments, they say, I'm just in America to make money and leave. So what does that tell you? They're not in it for a long time. They're in it for a good time. Y'all hit the #1 button. We're going back to these videos.
You have people that came to this country illegally at a point.
Let me see. Let's get on back to the video.
Grew up in the U.S., they never taught.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not paying you for the land.
Keep listening.
You have people that came to this country illegally at a point.
You got him here
Because your
twice.
people don't have no culture.
Listen.
I said, well, what about your culture? She said, yeah, my people from Tanzania. I said, cool, my people from Louisiana. Oh, but that's not a culture. And Tanzania is? She said, oh, da-da-da-da-da. Well, we can hang out, but my mama said that I'm not allowed to go to your house. Mind you, she like 23, 24, 25.
Oh, wow.
What? At that point, I said, babe, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Okay, because it's several things I was dealing with in that space or whatever, but like also it was important for me to just say, you know what? The guardrails that you have up against my people is fine. I'm fine standing behind them. Okay, and it's...
Now the sister is talking about FBA interactions with the Black diaspora groups. And she's noting something that we've all noticed. They are very xenophobic. They're very anti-foundational Black American in their interactions. And it comes out when they get real comfortable. Okay, keep listening.
Weird because y'all have all types of names for us as Black Americans. But to be honest with you, we don't have no cultural name. We don't have no cultural slang to describe Africans.
No.
So it speaks a lot about us as a people versus them. And I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face. In Africa, it's cool to do the tribalism. That's normal. Okay, Nigerians versus Ghanaians. Okay, this group versus that group or whatever. Like, we have large populations or whatever, and cultural identities just like them. The only difference is theirs are called countries and ours are called states. Black Americans don't beef with each other like that. We don't go, oh, I'm Black and you from Tennessee and I'm from Nashville, square up. Nah. Okay, our Black is unified across the board. So coming into contact with groups who are not unified and pull you into their diasporic stereotypes was really a very jarring canon event for me. It's something that I know I should be able to move forward from it, and I know that not all diasporic groups that are non-American feel this way, but you got to understand or whatever, like, we have been treated like this en masse, and we are also expected to forgive and share our freedom.
Yeah. Now, I want to hit something, and I want my foundational Black American brothers and sisters come to the front of the room. I want you to understand something. See, it's not just over there in Africa. If you ever talk to some of these Caribbean people, the Jamaicans and the Trinidadians have had an ongoing beef for decades. I don't think any of them like the Haitians, okay? And then you have the Bajans and all the rest of these folks. All these people that are Black, that for the most part sound the exact same to most foundational Black Americans, they all have this intra-Caribbean beef. And the same goes over in Africa. Now, here is the luxury that they have that we don't have, which gave rise to this cultural phenomenon. They have the luxury of living in countries where they are in the majority numbers. They're predominantly and majority Black, or most of the Jamaicans are ethnically Black or of African descent. We know the Haitians are ethnically Black and of African descent. Same thing goes for the Ghanaians and the Nigerians. So they don't put race first. See, they don't put race first. They put tribe first. They put nationality first. Here in the United States, being a very small population of roughly 9%, and I'm talking about solely the foundational Black Americans, even though there are 45 million people of African descent in this country, about 25% are Caribbean and of African descent, direct African descent. In other words, they're first or second generation Caribbean or African. So it's only about 75% foundational Black Americans in the United States. Nevertheless, our culture is one where we put our ethnicity first because this is a response to the environment that we are in. We recognize that white folks, when they're practicing their anti-Black racism or anybody else, they don't care if you are from Texas or Tennessee. They don't care if you are from California or Kalamazoo. You're still Black. So a cultural adaptation of that is we have this unity, and our culture is one where we come together and we are totally. Look, you can meet a sister from one part of the country and another part of the country, and they're totally different tastes. One might like sushi, one likes soul food. But when it comes to defending and coming together against anti-Black racism, we are all on the same page. That is one of our cultural adaptations. For you folk who say that we don't have culture, that is one of our cultural adaptations. And for anybody who knows anything about culture, culture is designed to help the people get from one generation to the next. If your culture is broken, then your people die off. Then your culture is defective. It is the programming. Like, we are computers and it is our programming. So we can be totally doing something else, but we will come together against some anti-Black racism. Everything that we are about is designed to make sure we can live. So when it comes to how we interact, we are Black first. Okay, foundational Black Americans see Black first. We don't see location or locality or nationality. And so when they come over here and say, well, I'm from Trinidad, I'm from Caribbean. We like, no, you an N-word too, just like the rest of it. You will learn soon enough. Okay, so that's one of the things that is so different, you know. And the thing is, if we tried to practice that level of tribalism that they practice in Trinidad and Jamaica and the Dominican Republic and the Caribbean and Ghana and Nigeria, we would have folded up a long time ago, because them white folk would have picked us apart. We know we have to come together, but I'm gonna let y'all, I'm gonna get on back to the video. See, I didn't talk over the video, right? Shout out to me. Let's keep listening. Let's keep listening.
And I'm wishing the shittiest of luck to the foundational bitch asses. Y'all use Black America as a shield, and Black America told me on my live stream they don't fuck with y'all and y'all don't speak for them.
Ma'am, you and your bonnet and your nose ring need to watch your filthy mouth. Okay, you need to watch your little filthy mouth with your cuss words. This is a family-friendly broadcast. Now I'm gonna let you continue, okay, with your purple silky Meemaw bonnet. But go ahead.
Y'all almost got all of us into it, but healthy conversations and knowledgeable understandings lead to more fruitful interactions between the two of us. So now it's the entire Black diaspora versus this small, minute, ignorant ass group. And I don't think you hoes are able to handle that.
Ooh, she talking sporty. She said all of them against us. Well, why don't y'all stay where y'all at? We not going to visit you all like that. We might slide down to Jamaica on that Carnival cruise line, get off for a couple of hours, buy some trinkets and get back on. We're not going over there to where you all are. You all are coming over here. We wouldn't even know about you. We don't care about you all like that. That's y'all coming over here. That's what you're doing. That's the only reason this is even an issue. 25% of the population of what is called Black America is foreigners or children of foreigners. I dare you go any other place in the world where it is a predominantly Black population and you find 25% foundational Black America. We're not going to where you are. You all are invading. And then you're coming over here with an attitude, and you're coming over here with your exclusionary ass backwards tactics that are divisive. And we're telling you that is not going to work here. Shout out to Johnny Harris with your nose ring. Let's keep listening to this young lady.
See, you use Black America to hide behind because you knew on yourself, you know on your own you're not strong enough. Y'all are the only ones who's sucking, but the foundational bitch asses. Y'all are the only ones who's sucking behind America's ass for acceptance. The rest of us don't do that. So ask yourself.
You're telling the group of people who forced America to accept us as we are, the group of people who, unlike the Irish, unlike the Italians, unlike all the other immigrants, the Latinos, the Japanese, we've never tried to force America. We've never changed for America. We forced America to accept us as our Black selves. We have never integrated. And that is the problem that most of America has with us. We are not begging. We do our own thing. We got soul music, soul food, jazz music, blues. Matter of fact, we keep our stuff to ourselves. They literally have to come over to our spaces and take our things. How do you think you got blues to R&B to country music? You better cut it out, nose ring girl.
Do you really think you can handle that shit? You really don't have a choice. See, you almost got us into it, and they told us
we almost got y'all been getting into it anyway. That's what y'all do, is y'all don't get along.
They don't fuck with you, and we don't fuck with you. So you on your own.
Well, why, if you don't F with us, why don't you go back to the country that you came from? Go on back over there. Okay, and start cooking in one of them huts. Go get you some monkey hips and dough knobs and broil them down, put some curry on it or whatever it is you eating over there, some squirrel feet, whatever you doing. Go on back over there and get you some squirrel feet. That's what you don't like over here in America with air conditioning. Go on over there, get your mosquito bite repellent and ease on back. Where's somebody put the ICE phone number in the chat room? Where's that ICE phone number?
It's forever fuck the foundational bitch asses, and I'm standing on it.
You standing on it. You just using our lingo. I'm standing on it. You big and bad on it. You stand. You need to stand on the treadmill. That's what you need to do. Praise God. Keep listening. Go ahead. Woo.
these entitled Africans and Caribbeans.
Speak up now, baby. I can't hear you. Hold on. She's I don't know what you, baby girl. You need to speak up. The audience can't hear you. You laying back. We see you got good teeth and everything, but you need to speak up so we can hear you.
Think
speak up.
that they are black.
Yes.
You are African.
They are
Caribbean, just like we are American.
Yes, we are Americans.
Did you know that 92% of black people's blood in America is native?
I don't know about that.
It's only 8% African American blood up in this bitch. You don't run shit. You didn't teach us nothing. We're not the evolution of you motherfuckers. Y'all have not evolutionized yet. All you did.
So I apologize. I want to apologize for all this foul language. Okay, somebody type family friendly in the chat room. I want to apologize. You ladies are really dropping F-bombs and MF. You are like you talking to your children when they didn't clean the house before you got home or something. Don't be this family friendly. Family friendly. Maybe somebody just, we gotta, the algorithm is coming for me. Well, let's keep listening. I guess we'll make it through. We'll try to make it through.
Was come over here and start acting like us. Why don't you go home and figure out what the fuck is going on at your house and get that shit together?
Family
and do
friendly.
all the shit that you spew in your little open, wide mouth about us not doing in America. Why don't you do that at home? You don't do shit at home.
Ma'am, MF, F, S word, all of these, Lord Jesus. I mean, gosh. I don't know what to do out here. You're going to get me demonetized, whatnot. I'm trying to get my check. Anyway, y'all hit the number one button.
Get the fuck on.
Ma'am.
You can't do nothing. You barely can eat at the house. But you bring your ass over here and you enjoy being a black American and you ain't black shit. You're African. And I'm not African shit. I'm American. I'm full-blooded American. I ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm American.
Okay.
We different. We not the same. You're an immigrant. I am not that.
See her eyes got big like that? Them eyes got big. That means she really mean what she's had this conversation with somebody. Maybe not about this particular subject matter, but this is how she talked to her ex-husband. Let me find out that you yeah, boy. Yeah, I don't look. I'm gonna just tell y'all. You done got black women upset that black women are coming. See, here's the thing. We wasn't bothering anybody. We wasn't bothering anybody, and people start bothering us, and now you see it happening. You shouldn't have got them started. Black women have been pretty chill about this whole situation. I found this intriguing when they start kicking it up. There's this one sister that really pointed out, check this lovely, beautiful lady out. She is so beautiful.
Anti-black the world has been very, very odd. Well, how anti-black American the world is. Let me be specific.
Yeah.
Like, we literally get smoked from all angles.
Everybody.
Me just expressing my point of view, giving a perspective, the same as any.
Let's just give a shout out to her hair. Her hair is laid. I mean, I grew up in the 1970s and 80s, and this is how black women's hair used to look. And I'm just saying, that's a good look right there. I mean, I don't know a lot about hair. I don't know if it's real, if it's for true, as they say in New Orleans. Okay, I don't know if it's for true, but it looks good. I like that. Shout out to her hair. Whoever did your hair. Go ahead. Let her finish. Go ahead, baby. Tell her.
Anybody else, my race is automatically attacked. My culture is automatically attacked. My lineage is automatically attacked. My complexion has gotten attacked. My hair texture is attacked. The way I dress is attacked. Like, there literally are people pretending to pick cotton as a dig. It's utterly disgusting.
Why Black America? Why foundational Black Americans being attacked? What did we do? I mean, all we did was vote. Well, y'all did. Y'all voted for Kamala Harris. I voted for Trump because I wanted everything I see happening right now to happen. I hate to say it. I'm sorry about being ugly, but Uncle D is ugly on the inside sometimes. And I wanted to see everybody that shouldn't be here gone. And I also wanted to keep my taxes low because Uncle D is concerned about his wallet. You understand me? But let's go ahead and let this beautiful sister keep talking. Talk, baby. Go ahead, talk.
you know, and responding to people, meeting them where they are.
Yes.
It's like we're just automatically supposed to turn the other cheek and always take the
I
fucking
don't
high
know.
road.
I'm
Like,
not
what
turning
is
them.
that? The world is so used to beating us down.
They are.
I just saw this African woman going on a rant about how much she just hates Black Americans.
I know. I
And
saw.
she lives in America.
She does.
Like, ma'am, do you not understand that civil rights laws
Yes.
are primarily
I'm sorry.
one of the reasons why you're able to successfully migrate here and set up shop and create a life for yourself?
Infiltrate, not migrate.
Like,
Infiltrate. They
it's just
infiltrate.
mind-boggling. I
is.
did not know
I
that
agree.
it was like this. And
I
starting
agree.
my journey on social media has been crazy. Even with TikTok, like literally me responding to racist comments, my comments get flagged. I have to appeal comments, yet the racism just easily bleeds through.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
I know.
It kind of feels like being on an island alone.
It does.
Spread love, it's your Brooklyn way. It's the
Look,
Brooklyn
I ain't
way.
from Brooklyn, but I feel you. Now, I want to just point out, she cussed everybody out, and she didn't say one cuss word. I like that. Shout out to you for cussing everybody out in a very intelligent and dignified way. And let's ease on back to the other side, baby. What else do you have to say? Go ahead.
Marcus Garvey tried to disenfranchise us in 1920, called it Go Back to Africa, where we not from. You know who he was in cahoots with, where he got the money from for that bullshit?
Who?
Democrats.
Damn.
Jesse Jackson ass tried to give up our rights to this whole land by calling us some damn African Americans. And like I said, 92% of our blood don't even have African in it. So fuck him too, Democrat.
Damn, why you?
And this last final boss evil bullshit that they pulled about this dual citizenship with Ghana, the same Ghana that sold your ass into slavery. They're gonna get money from your investments for going back. You dummies.
That's true. She was true. You're gonna go back over, they're gonna sell you again. Y'all gonna go ahead, brother.
I'm from America. That's what we're saying. Just like a Jamaican, hold on. Just like somebody from Jamaica, they're not gonna say what country in Africa they from.
Shout out to Johnny Harris. I'm gonna read all the super chats when I get there. Y'all hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you hadn't. Let's keep listening to the brother.
Somebody in Haiti is not gonna say what country from. They're gonna say they're Haitian
because they were closer from what is it called, the triangle slave
but
trade.
Then when you ask them that question, they're not gonna have a definitive answer.
That's because they're already in their own community of Caribbeans, the Haitians, Jamaicans. They're all like in one bowl.
But Black Americans are in their own bowl.
Look.
Yes, we are in our own bowl too. It's called the Bowl of America. Okay, we are in the Bowl of America. There's a difference between ethnicity and nationality. Our nationality is American. You understand me? Our nationality is American, just like some people's nationality is Ghanaian and other people's nationality is Nigerian or Jamaican or Trinidadian or Irish or Scottish. Okay, we are American. You understand me? A Mexican, a Canadian. That is our nationality. That is where that is the nation that we are from. Our ethnicity could be something different. There are plenty of ethnic people who have migrated to different places, but this is our ethnicity. Black, foundational Black American, to be specific. It denotes something. Let's keep listening to the brother.
That video is ridiculous. That woman is ignorant.
Very much so, sir.
Asking Black Americans where they're from, and then not accepting our answer that we are from America. Because our ancestors have been in America for the past 400 to 500 years.
Now, how long do you have to
Our ancestors have fought in every war
how
in this
long?
country. Our ancestors.
Do we need to be here another 300 years before we y'all comfortable saying that we're American? I mean, how much longer do we have to be in this country? You know, how much longer? We were here in the United States before it was even the United States, before it was back when it was England. Some territories, some backwoods territories of England. This is our country. And you all should just accept that red, white, and blue. Okay, let's keep listening.
Blood, sweat, tears are in this soil. Our ancestors are buried in this soil.
Yes, they
Our
are.
ancestor made it right or okay for your people to come over here and benefit here. instead of trying to disrespect us, in that interview, she went on to continue to
On
be
and on and on.
disrespecting and
Trying to
spew
be
some of
right.
the same ignorance that a lot of black immigrants do.
All the time.
When they should be thanking us that they're able to flee from their countries instead of fighting in their countries, building up their countries, getting what they deserve in their countries. They flee from their countries, come to here where we fought and we made it okay for you guys to benefit here.
How can you come to somebody else's country and talk stuff about them? The mitigated the gall that these people have to come to the United States and speak ill of the very people that made it possible for them to come. They don't understand. White folks don't like you like that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be honest with you. They think Africans, and we're really, when you go any other place in the world, Black Americans, we don't get treated like you all get treated in your countries, in other countries. Black Americans largely are welcomed. We have ambassadors like Kobe Bryant. We have ambassadors like Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson. Name me African or Caribbean that can match the popularity of a Michael Jackson, a Michael Jordan, a Kobe Bryant, a Muhammad Ali. You can't. Because the rest of the world looks up to us. When they talk about Black culture around the world, they're not talking about African culture. They're not talking about Caribbean culture. They're talking about Black American culture. Anything you have piggybacks on the back of Black Americans, and you all just need to understand that. Stay in your place. But anyway, let the brother continue.
Thanking us for that, applauding us for what we've done. And that allowed you to come here and benefit. Instead of thanking us, you continue to disrespect us.
They do.
And then he asked her, why don't you ask Jamaicans, Haitians that? She said because they have their own bowl in the Caribbean.
They don't ask the Jamaicans and the Haitians that because they don't hate them like they hate America. And see, this is the thing. Let me just go ahead and we'll put that up some other time and you all can look at that. See, what I need you Black Americans to understand is that a lot of these immigrants, they hate the United States. They hate it. They see it as a bully. They see us as a bully, and they see us as American. They don't see us as their brothers and sisters. They see us as Americans. That's why when you go places like Miami, the way the Haitians interact with Foundation of Black Americans, they refer to you as a Yankee. And you got these doggone people, and I'm gonna talk about New York. New York, I'm gonna be on your head all week. I'm gonna talk about New York because there's a large population of non-foundational Black American immigrants who have come to New York, and you are faking and making it. And you also practice anti-foundational Black American hate. How in the hell you have jollof rice on Juneteenth? Those things are unrelated. But here's the thing, family. So, why we had to delineate, and people keep asking that question. This is what is this foundational Black American thing? Why even make the distinction? They say it's divisive. Yes, it is divisive. It's meant to be divisive, but it's a necessary division. And if you've been paying attention, you'd understand why. See, for too long, too many Black people from outside of America, whether they're Caribbean or African, have come to this country and played the ass. Let's just call it what it is. They've been there's been a consistent pattern of Black immigrants from the Caribbean and from Africa arriving in America and then turning around to disrespect the very Black people who centuries of struggle opened the door, and they just walk through it. And that's what the FBA movement is about. It's not about hate. It's not about xenophobia. It's about boundaries. We're saying if you're coming here to be condescending, to undermine, to disrespect our lineage, to throw us under the bus, then no, you don't get to stand next to us and claim our legacy. So what sets this off is that some of y'all came here and started doing well, and that's fine. But then you use the success to slander foundational Black Americans. You say stuff like we're doing better than you, and y'all just lazy. And then you throw the right-wing American conservative jersey on and try to pretend like, you know, you're a fullback for Jim Crow. Okay. You understand? You act like redlining didn't happen and Black Wall Street was never burned down and COINTELPRO and mass incarceration and these government-sanctioned destruction of the Black family didn't happen. You act like the CIA didn't flood our neighborhoods with drugs during the Iran-Contra affair. You act like all of that didn't exist. But it did, and it shaped everything about our present-day reality. So, of course, when you come here with none of that baggage and your parents were diplomats and university professors and upper middle class and upper class professionals in your home country, you might start off better. But let's stop lying about what's really going on. When you compare Caribbeans or Africans in America, you're usually not talking about the average immigrant. Okay, you're talking about the top 10% of your country, and the ones with the money, the ones with education and the elite status, or even get a visa or a green card. So let's compare like to like. Compare the top 10% of Black immigrants to the top 10% of foundational Black Americans, and guess what? We're slaughtering y'all. It's not even close. But what do you compare? You know what you compare your best to our average. Most of you immigrants talk bad about foundational Black Americans because when you get here, you can only afford to live in the ghetto. Well, you got a bunch of poor foundational Black Americans living. What you need to understand is that we are better than y'all, and we will always be better than y'all. And that's not dishonest. That's not manipulative. It's exactly why we're able to build, why we're building this foundational Black American wall. You get a Colin Powell and a Kamala Harris, and you think you're winning. But you ignore the fact that those people aren't typical. They're outliers. And you weaponize those exceptions to beat down FBA people who've borne the brunt of this country's racism for centuries. Let me break this down even further. Let's say you're an immigrant and you're number 75 from your country, back home, and you were in the top elite. Now you come to America and you're being compared to an FBA guy who's 51. Your average working Black man. And yeah, maybe you got a slightly better job. Maybe you came here debt-free. But what you're not being told is that even 51 is 20 times wealthier than the average Jamaican or Nigerian back home. So stop pretending this is apples to apples. It's not. It's elite to average. And the disrespect that comes from misunderstanding exactly why we have had enough. FBA have built everything from nothing. We didn't immigrate here. We were dragged here. We didn't choose this. We survived it, most of us, or otherwise we have family members that had to deal with it. And we're drawing a line right now in the sand. And you don't get to ride our coattails while spitting on our suffering. That's not division, that's defense. And we don't owe you apologies. We owe you the truth. And the truth is, we're not letting anyone rewrite our story, not even you all. So yes, we're going to delineate. Okay, now let's compare the elite 10% of Black America to Africa and the Caribbean. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Y'all with me? Hit the number 1 button if you're with me. Okay, shout out to Johnny Harris. We're going to talk about something that rarely is addressed, and that's the real comparison between the 10% of African Americans or should I say the 10% of foundational Black Americans and the top performing African and Caribbean immigrants in the United States. Many Caribbean and African immigrants, they arrive as part of the top socioeconomic. That's the 10%. That's normally the best that they have. They typically are highly educated, they're financially stable. And in contrast, many of our foundational Black American brothers and sisters represent, that's the entire Black U.S. population, which includes many people who are still affected by systematic inequality. And to make a fair comparison, to make it a fair comparison, let's focus on merit groups in every category. Okay, let's think about it. Let me see here. Let's look at educational attainment. Okay, African immigrants, nearly 49% of African immigrants hold college degrees. That's double the rate of US-born white Americans. It's nearly 4 times the rate of native-born foundational Black Americans. Nigerian Americans individually have 59% of bachelor's degrees, with nearly 29% holding graduate degrees. That's a lot. Bravo to them. Okay, now when we look at the Caribbean immigrants, the Jamaicans, and I put all the citations in the description section. Caribbean immigrants, specifically Jamaicans, about 30% of them hold bachelor's degrees, at least by 2019. Okay, and that's higher than the US average, which is 24%. Okay, African Americans are foundational Black Americans, the top 10%. We don't necessarily have a specific number because this is not publicly measured, but it's widely accepted that Black Americans have high rates of college degrees, or the top 10%, and solidifying our position in the socioeconomic tier. All right, Nigerian Americans, the median household, I want you to hear the numbers now. The median household income from a Nigerian American is $81,725. For a foundational Black American is $67,573. All right, the personal earnings for Nigerians, $67,000. That's for males. Okay, females is $61,208. Both are above the US average. Salute to them. All right, as far as educational attainment, we talked about that. Let's talk about the Haitians. As I said before, average African American median household is $67,000. Haitians is $73,000. Keep in mind, we're talking about the elite of the elite. Okay, this is what we're talking about. Now, here's the thing. Immigrants from Nigeria and Haiti are disproportionately from the top economic and educational tiers of their home countries. They're already affluent when they get here. They're already highly educated upon arrival. Many of these Nigerians come from their country with degrees, and they get more degrees when they get here, and they have money. Many of them arrive as skilled workers already. Same thing with the Nigerians and the Haitians. They benefit from professional mobility. And so what you're doing is you're comparing the elite immigrant subset to the entire foundational Black American population, which includes those who are affected by these inequalities. But when you compare the top 10% of foundational Black Americans to the top 10% of Nigerians, Haitians, and everybody else, right? We blow them out the water, irrespective of slavery and all that other stuff. You see what I'm saying? Now, here's the thing. Let's talk a little bit more about the Jamaicans. As I said, the average average Haitian household makes $73,000. Okay, the average Jamaican American household makes $62,000, depending on what region they in. All right, you got college education rates of about 25 to 30%. And you'll find Caribbean immigrants working in nursing, education, public service, and they have their small businesses. They grind, they hustle, and their children, especially second generation, often do better. They have rising income, home ownership, etc. But again, we have to look at the selection bias. These weren't the poorest Jamaicans and Haitians. These were the most determined, the most connected, and the ones with the means and the mindset to leave their home country. And that matters. They didn't randomly show up and win. They started from a higher base. And now, here's where it gets real. Let's talk about the foundational Black American elite. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about our talented 10th. Somebody type talented 10th in the chat room. All right. So our primary occupations of our talented 10th: doctors, lawyers, engineers, professors, tech executives, entrepreneurs, and elected officials. The household earning of our top 10% is well over $100,000. You understand me? On top of that, we have established wealth. We got home ownership. We got multi-generational professional networks. My daddy was a lawyer. My great-great-great-great-granddaddy was a lawyer. My son is going to be a lawyer. My wife is a lawyer. You understand me? My other son is going to be a medical doctor. My biological mother is an elementary school teacher. So when we compare our top 10%, these people are struggling to get 80,000. Our top 10% is well over 100,000. They're alumni of HBCUs and Ivy League institutions. They lead companies, they lead foundations and cultural institutions. And what makes this so powerful in the context, unlike many of these immigrants, foundational Black Americans built all this in a country that had its foot on our necks for over 400 years. No visas, no scholarships, no home country to fall back on, just grit, brilliance, and perseverance. So when you compare elite to elite, here's the truth. Foundational Black Americans don't just keep up, we outperform all of them. We own more land, we run more established businesses, and we are deeply embedded in the U.S. institutions, from law to politics, from media to medicine. We have legends in this country. Shout out to Mika L. So let's run that back. I want you to hear me. African immigrants, your top 10% make between $80,000 to $120,000. That's it. That's the median income. That's what you love. Caribbeans, you down there at 60 to 85%. African Americans are well up over $100,000. This is where we are. This is where we are. So the next time they talk about comparing us, don't compare yourself to Pookie and Ray Ray in the ghetto. Go find one of them Black lawyers down in Atlanta or Houston. Compare yourself to one of them. So in terms of education and professional reach and institutional access, we're not behind. Okay? We're right there, or we're ahead. So why does it look like foundational Black Americans are being outpaced? Because we're comparing their best. They're comparing their best to our average. We're being measured against hand-picked global elite while still healing from the scars of the crack epidemic and mass incarceration and systematic theft. But when you equalize for class, opportunity, and education, we FBA outshine all these Black immigrants. And see, that's why this conversation matters. We have to stop using immigrant success stories to shame foundational Black Americans. We're not lazy. We're not broken. We simply had to fight through more for longer. And when the playing field is level, we don't just compete, we lead. So let's keep the conversation honest. Let's celebrate all Black excellence. You see? And let's not exclude our foundational Black American brothers and sisters who've done well for themselves. Look, here's a remarkable truth about African immigrants, especially Nigerians. You see? They're among the highest educated group in the United States, according to the U.S. Census and the studies by the Pew Research. Nearly 60% of Nigerian Americans hold at least one bachelor's degree. We salute them. We happy for you, baby. All right? That exceeds the national average. Many of them have gone further, even graduating professional degrees in some of the most demanding fields: medicine, engineering, finance, and science. I love me a good Nigerian professor, a science professor, a good Nigerian doctor. I love it. Brilliant. They're in hospitals and professors. I love it. University, I'm cool with it. Okay? They're not just highly educated, they're specialized in their high achieving professions. Cool. And that level of achievement didn't happen by accident. Many of these immigrants were already part of the top 5 and 10% in their home countries. And they came from families who emphasized education and discipline and global opportunity. Many were already fluent in English. Many arrived with international scholarships and other credentials of professional training from abroad. So yes, this is impressive. But we also have to ask the next hard question. Why is it that despite these educational success stories, African immigrants are among the most underpaid workers in America. We're going to get to that. But for now, I want to emphasize this. When we speak of high educational attainment from Africans, let's be honest. This is not a portrait of an average African. This is the cream of the crop. This is the elite. Okay? Now, it's important for us to recognize their success without romanticizing it, because when people weaponize these immigrants' achievements to shame foundational Black Americans, they're comparing our average to their elite, and that's not cool. Now, here's the thing. As I said earlier, Africans are the most educated, but they're also the most underpaid amongst the professionals, amongst all immigrants. Now, let's talk about this harsh reality that doesn't get enough attention, because they would love to tell you to work harder. But what they're not telling you is that Indian is making more money than them. That East Asian guy is making more money than them. And he might have more education, highly educated, particularly the Nigerians, the Ghanaians, and the Ethiopians. But consistently, they earn less than their white, Asian, and even Latino counterparts, many of whom have lower levels of education. And this is not speculation, it's backed by data. For example, a Nigerian-born PhD engineer may earn less than a white colleague with only a bachelor's degree. African-trained doctors face more credential barriers and get offered lower starting salaries. And many highly educated Africans find themselves underemployed. Working job, you over here at the Starbucks and you got a PhD. You got a job that doesn't even match your skill level or your degree or your expertise. This is what economists call brain waste. So why is it happening, fellas, ladies? My foundation, I bet y'all can tell them why. Huh? I bet you can tell them it's because anti-Blackness is global, but it's most entrenched right here in the good old USA. See, the US labor market doesn't just reward credentials. It rewards networks. It rewards cultural familiarity. It rewards whiteness. And when it comes to Black people, whether you are born in Brooklyn or Benin, the same systematic bias kicks in. Even with that Ivy League degree from Harvard or Moore or Brown, African immigrants still walk into boardrooms and hospitals and tech firms and face the same racial assumptions that the foundation of Black Americans have had to battle for centuries. Do you really belong here? Are you qualified? Can you speak clearly? Are you articulate? So let me be plain with this. Credentials alone do not shield Black people from racism, not even foreign-born ones, because when you walk into that room, your degrees don't speak, your Black skin does. And here's what's even more sobering. The very same African immigrants who are used as this so-called model Negro minority to shame foundation of Black Americans are quietly facing the same wage theft, the same glass ceilings, and the same exploitation. Their resumes may be packed with degrees, their work ethic may be unshakable, but America's labor market sees melanin first and merit second. So when we talk about unity among the Black diaspora, we must talk about shared struggles. Because when the paycheck doesn't match the diploma, that's not personal failure, that's institutional bias. Now, we could have told you that, couldn't we? Black Americans could have told you that. Right? See, we expose it. We long since dismantled the myth that education alone and working harder will save us. We knew that, because even the most educated Black immigrants are still underpaid. And then clearly the problem isn't Black people. The problem is the system is doing what it's designed to do. Let's speak some more uncomfortable truth. Are y'all with me? Hit the number 1 button. America is not a meritocracy. America itself has a racial caste system. And it is that system, Blackness, no matter where it's from, is punished. This is one of the most jarring realities that African immigrants encounter when they come to the United States. They arrive with degrees, they arrive with drive. Many come from countries where they part of the majority, where their skin color was not a social disadvantage. And they come here believing the American dream is real. That if you work hard, somebody type work hard and play by the rules, success will follow. But then something happens. They realize they've stepped into a country where a degree from Harvard does not protect you from being pulled over by the police. A medical license does not prevent that real estate agent from steering you away from certain neighborhoods. And a clean resume and a crisp accent still doesn't result in a second interview at all. And that diversity hire label follows you like a shadow. Because see, in America, blackness is a disqualifier. It doesn't matter if you're from Lagos or Louisiana or Port-au-Prince or Philadelphia. The system sees color, not country. African immigrants often enter this country thinking their nationality will give them advantage. I'm better than those Black Americans, right? That's what they think. Right? And they still get followed around in the stores. And they still have to deal with stop and frisk. Their children are suspended at a higher rate in school. They're assumed to be janitors and drivers, not doctors and engineers. And in that moment, the illusion shatters. See, this is why redlining doesn't ask your last name, and police brutality doesn't check your visa status, and workplace microaggressions don't care about your GPA. Whether you are a foundational Black American or an African immigrant or a Caribbean immigrant, you are still part of this group that is last hired, first fired, least paid, and most policed. This is a painful awakening, especially for those who came here expecting open arms and open doors. But it should be a clarifying one. In this country, the price of being Black is paid in full, regardless of your origin. And here's the deeper irony. Even as some try to distinguish themselves from US-born Black people, believing proximity to whiteness will protect them, the system lumps them together when it counts. This is why I live in a Black neighborhood. If you come to my office, all my employees are foundational Black Americans. I've had people from the Caribbean. I have people from Africa. That's why I went to HBCU. This is why I try to get my sons to go to HBCU. This is why I tell my sons, look, man, my preference is for you to get you a Black woman. I tell them. Maybe that's a little racialist to me, but I'm not under any misinterpretations of what this world is that we live in. And I'm not one of these pro-Black dudes. I'm just mindful. I have Black neighbors from Africa. I got Black neighbors from the Caribbean. I got Black neighbors who right here from Texas. They can run it back 200-300 years. I got some Black folk from Africa. I love them to death. Do you hear me? One of my favorite people in the world is a Nigerian professor. This is where I get my Nigerian accent from. Listen to him. Hey, 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 brother. Love him to death. Love him. But when it comes down to it, we have to delineate. You understand me? See, America's not colorblind. It's a caste-based system. And top of the hierarchy is still white. And bottom is still Black, regardless of whether you have an accent from the South or West Africa. And until that changes, education alone is not enough. Respectfully, you definitely need to get yourself an education, but that's not it. Now, here's the thing. I want to confront a harsh but necessary truth. It takes an unfathomable level of hubris and almost delusional arrogance. Shout out to Louis Harvey. Y'all, I know y'all learning something. If you learn something, make sure I earn something. But we got 6 super chats, but I'm gonna keep talking. I got plenty to say, but I want to talk to these black immigrants, because the reason I'm talking to you, because we are very disappointed in you. I think I can speak up for all the foundational black Americans when I tell you that black Americans are very disappointed at Africans and Caribbeans. We're very disappointed at you. You have a delusional arrogance. You've migrated to our country, built by us, and then you have the audacity to proclaim that you're doing better than the very group, us. That's not a display of excellence. It's a colonizer mindset, repackaged in a black body. It is the spiritual equivalent of stepping over gravestones to brag about how tall you've become. To look down upon the descendants of enslaved Africans who were shackled and tortured and raped, worked to death, who still managed to build America's railroads, universities, civic infrastructure. Black people built the White House. You're just disrespectful and you're morally bankrupt to think that you're doing better than us. This arrogant posture, it did not materialize in a vacuum. From the first major waves post-1965, African immigrant and Caribbeans came to this country, and foundational black Americans have encountered a quiet but persistent contempt for many of our foreign-born cousins. It often masquerades as professionalism or cultural pride, but in many cases it's fueled by anti-black stereotypes imported from your colonial nations. And some of the very same lies dominate white society. They say the same thing that you saying about black Americans. These immigrants, you didn't survive Jim Crow. You didn't march in Selma. You didn't bleed in Birmingham. You didn't bury loved ones lost to COINTELPRO and the crack epidemic or mass incarceration. Y'all didn't suffer from redlining and generational disinheritance or racially motivated lynchings. Yet you arrive on our soil through the doors we kicked open and begin to be condescending to those who paved the way. But now, finally, foundational black Americans are delineating. We're drawing a line. Shout out to Ashra Reborn. We're delineating. We will no longer allow skin tone alone to group us with those who do not share our lineage or our history or our oppression or success, because too many of you all look like us who don't view us as equals. You view us as stepping stones. So now the masquerade ends. What follows is a reckoning, both political and financial, and that will redefine the black experience for many of you folks here in the United States who are not foundational black American. That's you. See, that's you standing on land fertilized with the blood of our ancestors, looking down on us while reaping the benefits of what we fought for. And all of that has to end. So you need to begin to ask yourself, and I'm going to tell my brothers and sisters what the political and financial impact is going to be. See, with delineation in place, black immigrants are no longer going to be allowed to hijack the political and civil rights platforms of foundational black Americans built from the ground up. They will not be allowed to wrap themselves in the imagery of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Malcolm X while disrespecting the descendants of the on the internet or in private. This Pan-African cosplay will no longer be accepted as a substitute for lived experiences of foundational black Americans. These immigrants will be disqualified from serving as spokespersons for FBA, whether we're talking about media or academia or politics, because you never paid the price necessary to occupy that platform. There will be no more Kamala Harris's or Barack Obama's claiming the black vote while being culturally and genealogically unconnected to the American slave legacy in the time period before slavery began. Reparation panels and advocacy will be closed to you. Same thing, we shutting down this African Union thing. Politically motivated movements funded and fueled by FBA blood, sweat, and legislative maneuvering we will gatekeep you with no documentation, no lineage. You have no voice, no roots in the cotton fields of Mississippi, no say in the future of the FBA nation financially. Economic delineation is the financial firewall that FBA communities have long needed. Black immigrants have long received scholarship money and HBCU admissions and affirmative action bonuses and SBA loans and federal contracts by claiming to be Black American. You basically claiming proximity to the struggle that was never yours. And that pipeline is closed. And with these scholarships, and this is when we check FBA. No scholarships, no grant applications. And see, when they're all updated and require you to state whether or not you're a foundational Black American, all you immigrant applicants are going to face a choice. Number one, you disqualify yourself, or number two, you commit federal fraud, specifically 18 USC subsection 1001. You understand? Either option cuts off the free ride. Expect HBCUs to implement stricter vetting for their admissions and legacy programs based on federal requirements. If they want that check from the federal government, they're going to have to do what they have to do. So now we're looking at cultural spaces, media platforms, entrepreneurial grant opportunities. They're going to require some proof of lineage in the same way the native tribes enforce memberships and benefits. Non-FBAs are going to be forced to return to competing for generic, minority, or international student. You're not going to be able to fake Black anymore or African American. Shout out to Michael J. See, not for programs specifically intended to redress the harms of slavery and segregation and the ongoing systematic exclusion of the by U.S. law. And see, what you're gonna find is this fallout, this shift is gonna be dramatic. Here's what to expect: scholarship ineligibility for Black immigrants. 60% of Black scholarship awards will become lineage restricted by 2030. Black immigrants will lose access to $4 to $6 million cumulatively in financial aid grants over the next 15 years. You're going to have a drop in HBCU admissions for non-FBAs, and without access to cultural or legal claim to FBA lineage, admissions of Caribbean and African students in HBCUs will drop by 25 to 40%, especially as legacy admissions and reparative priorities shift for FBAs. And what about your federal loans and contract losses? MBE certifications, federal minority contracts claimed under FBA status, it's going to dry up. Donald Trump is going to do it. And then a whole lot of fraud prosecutions are going to pop up. I can at least 1,500 investigations annually by the DOJ and the SBA. You see how they're going after these PPE loan people? That's going to be you. Keep playing. And here's another thing. No more Sheila Jackson Lees. No more Kamala Harris's. We're going to see the end of political leverage for Black immigrants. The representation of non-FBAs in Black congressional districts will decline sharply by as much as 15%, because foundational Black Americans are going to start asking questions. Where is your mama and them from? See, when voting blocks become lineage-based, or lineage conscious, I should say, and demand direct lineage accountability for Black leadership, what are you going to say? Oh, well, you know, I've been here. I moved here when I was 10. I'm Jamaican. The other thing is a loss of cultural access and brand endorsement. You see what they're doing to this woman, what's her name? What's this woman's name? I forget her name. Miss Mangugu, Essence Festival lady. Do you all know that she admitted that her family members sold slaves? What's her name? The one that is running Essence Fest right now. What is her name? Can anybody give me her name real quick? What is her name? Her name, I forget this woman's name, but I know I was just flabbergasted when I learned that this woman is descended from people who sold black people into slavery. And she's running Essence Fest. Whose idea was that? Who thought it was a good idea to put a black woman from Kenya whose family members were involved in the slave trade? Who thought that was a good idea to put her in charge of a foundational Black American cultural event? I need to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Nevertheless, I forget her name. Let me see. What is it now? I forget her name. But let's get on back to what I'm saying. What you all wanted to compete. You wanted to come over here and you wanted to compete. Well, here's the thing. Now you're gonna have to do it on your own resume, not ours, not our struggle, not our legacy. You came here calling us lazy while living in housing projects built for us. You came here calling us ignorant while enrolling in schools integrated by us. You came here and called us entitled while sitting on spoils of our lawsuits and our court battles and our blood, sweat, and tears. You want to talk superiority? Let's see how well you do without Social Security numbers attached to your success. Delineation means no more free rides. No more camouflage, no more fraud. You will no longer be allowed to cosplay as us when it's convenient and then insult us when you feel safe in these white spaces and whip out your little flag. We built this. We bled for this. We earned this. And now we're claiming it with boundaries. You see, and when foundational Black Americans officially delineate themselves politically and culturally and legally from Black immigrants, the consequences for African and Caribbean immigrants are profound, permanent, and measurable. No more cultural cosplay. That's going to be a problem. Look, the days of slipping into the skin of the Black American experience for convenience is over. Non-FBA immigrants will no longer be able to drape themselves in FBA history and pain or dialect and gain access to the U.S. Specific resources. Scholarships, nope. Job market disruption, diversity audit, nope. Collapse of these contracts. And here's another one. Hip hop and gospel and Southern cuisine, streetwear and Black Twitter. These are FBA born institutions. And once delineation is entrenched, immigration participation in these spaces is no longer going to be automatic. Let me run something down to y'all that I want to talk to you all about now that we talk about delineation. Now, where all my people at? I want all my smart people to come to the front of the room. In 1955, Black Americans were the most married group of people in America. By 1965 and beyond, we were still up there. But somewhere after 1965, we saw a dramatic fall off. It was in that year in 1965 that the United States passed a law called the immigration law. I'm gonna call it the immigration equality law. And it began to allow African immigrants and Caribbean immigrants to come to the United States. And they brought with them their culture. And all of a sudden, the measurements for Black marriage began to decline. And when you move on to the 80s, it seems as though Black men and Black women all of a sudden just weren't getting along at all. And it was in the 1980s that Black folk from all over the world began to come to the United States. Here's the thing. Could it be that these people who we consider black in America, shout out to Narratives and Dialogues, could it be that a lot of the social issues the foundational black Americans had now, because of lack of cohesion, are because we have absorbed all these immigrant problems? Black men don't beat up their women like that. I put some statistics up on my page showing, if anything, back in the 1970s and 80s, it was black men getting beat up by black women. So my question is, these immigrant problems, because these people come from their home countries and they have some very divergent views of womanhood. If you want to keep it 100, talk to some of these people and ask some of these women how they're treated in their homeland. Look at some of this crime going on in these Caribbean countries. I'm just saying. I bet if you began to do the balloon pop, if you began to have these people fill out a questionnaire as to where their people came from before they're allowed to open their mouth and speak on Black American issues, I bet we would find out a lot. We would have a better photo, a better picture of who's making these statements and why. You had a bad experience with your daddy because your mama, because your daddy was a Jamaican man and your mama was from Barbados and your daddy used to whoop up on your mama. So now you grow up angry with black men, and foundational Black American men had nothing to do with that. We were the most married group of people in America before all these African immigrants came over here, before all these Caribbean immigrants came over here. And they had to reckon with the fact that now they have this freedom. You got Caribbean women and African women who've never been free in their life in their own country. And now they get over here and all they have to do is call 911 and they can get their Dexter St. Jock hauled away by some white men. I'm just saying, this might be something I need to dig into. We might need to look up the DV rates before 1965 and after 1965. We might need to look up the divorce rate amongst foundational Black Americans before 1965 and after 1965. I'm just saying. Because I do know for certain that it's a lot of crimes being committed in Florida, especially South Florida and New York and New Jersey. They don't have anything to do with foundational Black Americans. They look black, but they're not black like me. They're not Mississippi black. They're not Louisiana black. They're not Alabama, Arkansas black. They're not East Texas black. They're not North Kakalaka, South Kakalaka black. They're not black like, they're not Tennessee black. They Lagos black. They Kingston black. They're Trinidad and Tobago black. And they brought with them their culture. It's something to think about. Just something to think about. If for nothing else, perhaps we need to delineate for that so they can have their crime stats and we can have our crime stats. We wouldn't blame the Irish for the crimes committed by the Italians, would we? Even though they all fall under the umbrella of white. That's why we call it Italian street gangs and Irish street gangs. We wouldn't want to be responsible for the Zopound posse down. We don't want to be responsible for the Belizean Crips in California. No. You keep your own. Y'all can have that. That's what I'm saying. I just pointed out. Now imagine this. Are you still with me? Now imagine an alternative America in 1965 as the Immigration and Nationality Act was passed and immigration from Africa and the Caribbean surged, and foundational Black Americans said, hold up, we're going to delineate. Because it looked like these people are a mess. From that moment forward, we gatekeep strict cultural, legal, and institutional distinction between those who are descended from the American chattel slavery system and who can trace their heritage to a time before 1860 and the newly arrived Black immigrants. This distinction would have profoundly reshaped the landscape of American society and politics and economics for both groups. First, there would have been no immigrant hijacking of Black liberation movements. Prominent voices like Ta-Nehisi Coates and Nicole Hanna, both of them are descendants of immigrants. They would have never showed up. They would have never become national spokespersons for reparations of mass incarceration and civil rights. And we might have actually been able to get something done because we were very good at what we did before all these folk from these other places showed up. Because remember, like I said, they don't like America. I started off with that. And they don't like you as Americans. They don't even identify as Black first. They identify with whatever country they came from. And so what that means is the civil rights discourse would remain rooted in the lived experience of the descendants of those who had to endure chattel slavery, not imported through academic abstraction or elite journalistic lenses. Black immigrants would have been confined to advocating for their unique immigrant trajectories and would not have been able to camouflage themselves in FBA pain to acquire prestige grants and global attention. Second, the infrastructure that FBA ancestors built under Jim Crow and post-Reconstruction and apartheid would have been protected from appropriation. HBCUs founded by formerly enslaved African Americans and abolitionists would have reserved enrollment and scholarships and cultural space exclusivity for our own lineage. Hell, even our Black letter Greek organizations did more. Our civil rights groups, our urban networks, they would have they would have looked at you sideways like, you're not even foundational Black American. Now, it would have forced these immigrant groups to build parallel institutions, or they could just rely solely on white folk and be pan-immigrants. Shout out to Lord Giatron. Infrastructure for social capital. Look, they wouldn't have had access to our cultural powerhouses and our pipeline into the middle class. It would have been inaccessible. You see? So like I was saying, the economic leapfrogging we've seen. You got these highly educated African and Caribbean immigrants, right? They out-earned some of our FBA brothers, despite arriving later. It never occurred that we should have done that to them because we're such a beautiful people. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965, all those affirmative action policies that allowed these people to get into these elite colleges. What if we had had all foundational Black Americans going to these elite colleges over the past 60 years? Where would we be right now? As opposed to allowing these immigrants to come in and take our place. They would have been disqualified. Because remember, those affirmative action policies were there to help remediate and designed to repair slavery and Jim Crow. You got a father and a mother who went to Harvard and Yale. You got all the connections and the hookups. They pulling you up. And there's nothing wrong with going to the local JC. But it's a big difference if you go to one of those Ivy League schools. Those immigrants jumped in front and took that position. And see, without those protections and that access, Black immigrants would have had no legal standing to demand admissions, hiring, or housing equity in a system that still viewed them as Black, but didn't owe them a moral or legal debt like they did foundational Black Americans. And this would have relegated them to low wage sectors. They'd have been out there picking fruit with the Mexicans. They'd have been cleaning houses, PhD or not. You're gonna be in there washing his toilet. You'd have been working at the plant. just like other non-white immigrant groups that never would have bypassed the FBA working class. That's what would have happened to them. Furthermore, the political dominance of black immigrants in the U.S. leadership. Look at all these immigrants in the black black congressional caucus. We have had 2 immigrants or children of immigrants. Kamala Harris, the first so-called black female vice president, and Barack Obama, who ain't got no FBA in him at all. These are the first 2 black people. Look how they leapfrogged us. Eric Adams, another one, Letitia James, Ayanna Presley, all these people are immigrants or children of immigrants. And they leapfrog foundational black America. That was for black people. Shout out to Black Eyed Peas. They would not have been eligible under the Black American banner. Shout out to G.R.O. Foofers without our ancestral ties. Had delineation occurred in 1965, the ripple effect would have reshaped the socio-economic fabric of black America. By the 1970s, during the height of the war on drugs, immigrant communities would not have had the privilege of distancing themselves from urban decay while quietly benefited from affirmative action and minority contracts. They would have not have positioned themselves as better behaved or more successful, while FBAs bore the brunt of redlining and mass incarceration and economic exclusion. Gang violence, fueled by systematic poverty and urban neglect, would have remained an internal FBA tragedy, one the immigrants could not exploit to falsely elevate themselves as the model Negro minority. And by the 1980s, the data suggests that 75% of affirmative action beneficiaries in these elite colleges would have been FBA rather than this growing percentage of immigrants. Okay, the ones that showed up after the 1990s, after the first round of them were born. You understand? We'd have had real life foundational black American mayors. Now imagine if we had got to the point where we are right now, 2025, think about this. If delineation had been in effect since 1965, fewer than 10% of elected black officials in the U.S. today would be immigrants or first-generation Americans. Over 80% of the black Ivy League graduates, young black students, would be FBA rather than foreign-born. Imagine them coming back to our community, because all these immigrants do is take the money and send it back home and try to separate themselves from black Americans. But it's not too late. Now that we've drawn a line between ourselves culturally, politically, and legally, the masquerade is over. The days of immigrants cosplaying as descendants of foundational black American, shout out to Sage Talk, descendants of chattel slavery for social capital and job preference or academic advance, that come close to an end. There's no more confusion now. We got a name, FBA. No more cultural hijacking, no more free rides, no more stealing our blood-soaked legacy. You can no longer just check black. We need to see some documentation. See, applying for funds now requires lineage verification. I myself tried to set up a scholarship for foundational black Americans at one of the local law schools over here. They didn't know what to do. What is that? It's coming. See, for many of the Nigerians and Ghanaians and Ethiopians, the end of this cultural camouflage is a seismic shift. See, you're not going to be able to slip into black America and recap. You put your little baseball cap on and put your little fake New York accent on. Not going to be able to do it. See, efforts to misrepresent themselves as FBA is no longer going to carry it's going to carry some legal consequences, including potential charges of fraud. You go on in there and fill out a Black American if you want to, a foundational Black American, you're going to get that charge. That I'm Black too no longer suffices. The system is learning that melanin is not lineage. And this change is going to significantly impact African immigrants economically. See, previously, Nigerian American households have been, y'all have the most degrees and you're struggling. You got the most degrees out of all the immigrants, and the median amount of money you make is about $80,000. Imagine what happens if you don't get the fake foundational Black American anymore. All the doors that did open are now closed. Your income may decline by another 15 to 25% over the next 5 to 10 years. When that FBA pipeline drives up, for example, let's think about it. Your MBA programs and your law schools once grouped all Black applicants together under one quota, and now we have to carve out foundational Black American seats, leaving immigrants to compete with international and white applicants for the remaining spots. Expect more background checks, more documentation requests, and fewer open doors. Additionally, Black immigrants own businesses with previously excess SBA loans and federal grants meant to repair historical injustices. Well, now you're going to be forced to prove your eligibility. Look what the brothers and sisters are doing the Essence Festival. Look what they're doing the Essence Festival. For all you foreign Blacks talking stuff about Black folks, the cover is being pulled back. We're going to let y'all make it on your own. And look, I got love for so many. Look, some Black folk from overseas, I got love for you, baby. But y'all picked this fight. It's been 60 years and y'all ain't act right. Y'all supposed to fall in line. I'm not talking about to the brothers and sisters who are married in the foundational Black American families and you came to uplift and build. I'm not talking about you. We love you. We appreciate you. It's a brother, like I tell you, it's a brother around the corner. He got this Black American woman, beautiful. They got this beautiful little baby. So happy. I try to send him all the business I can because he in it. He got him a sister right here from the States. With it, 100% with it. Same thing for the Caribbean folk. You cool with me? I'm cool with you, baby. You over here with us, now get on code. See, the FBA vote even was once easily captured. All you had to do was share melanin. But now we're going to want to know your lineage because you've shown that you can be biased. We've shown that you're not 100% with us. You Caribbean immigrants, Haitians, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, you all are going to face a similar reckoning. Because see, for decades, you all piggyback off FBA institutions like civil rights laws and HBCUs and Black churches and our urban political machine, and you maintain your cultural distance. As soon as you do something, your son got an A+ on his grade, them flags come out, don't they? Your little flag is waving. Commit a crime, flags go back in the pocket. Oh my God. The neighborhood's going to pot. As soon as you do something good, the flags come out again. Oh, he's Ghanaian. He's Caribbean. He's Jamaican. Don't let the Jamaicans win the 100-meter sprint in the Olympics. Oh, man, flags out. But see, delineation forces them to either build their own institutions or struggle independently. You see what I'm saying? HBCUs once had 15 to 20% populated by Black immigrants. You see? And what happens when those things are reserved only for ADOS or FBA, as they say? And here's another thing that y'all haven't recognized. All this crap talking that y'all doing, you're going to experience a social climate that's a lot colder. See, in online spaces and professional networks and cultural programs, foundational Black Americans, people like myself, we're going to close ranks. And immigrants who once belittled Black American culture, you might be able to pick on my little brothers and my little sisters who are not part of the talented 10th and who don't have that sort of money to impose their will. But you can't do all that to me. You see? See, all you immigrant folks who belittle Black American culture and while imitating it for clout, you're going to find yourselves ostracized from our groups. That Black elite, you're not going to be invited to some of these snooty parties that the Black elite go to. It's called cultural gatekeeping. You're not going to be able to have the caviar. You're going to send you back over there. You can get some of them goat hips and doorknobs with some gravy on top of it. Eat some of you can go over there. See, the days of borrowing our style and our struggle and our soul for financial gain is over. In the music industry alone, platforms like Apple Music and Spotify are starting the tagging artists' bios with lineage indicators. That's going to do you. And the other thing is going to be exposed is the truth behind this so-called immigrant story. You see, it's once divorced from the historical achievements of FBA and civil rights wins and political achievement, institutional development, the perceived superiority of these immigrants' success is going to fade real quick. It becomes clear that what looked like hard work and discipline was in many cases institutional favoritism and temporary proximity to whiteness. And without our infrastructure, their success and the narrative deflates, revealing the uncomfortable truth. Most Black immigrant groups in the U.S. have no civil rights legacy, no reparative claim, no real political power of their own, and y'all can't fight and don't know how to fight in the system. You're just immigrants, and the system will treat you like an immigrant. Once you can no longer borrow our playbook and hide in our skin, it's not going to work out for you. Now, we're also delineating from these African countries that want to use us for our nearly $2 trillion in spending power. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let me make something perfectly clear. Now that foundational Black Americans are delineated, now that we're separating ourselves politically and economically and culturally from all other Black immigrant groups, all of a sudden these African countries are trying to hitch their wagon to us. And it's not because of a shared history. Shout out to DT. Or solidarity or some moral obligation to right or wrong. No. It's because they see them dollar signs. See, the African Union, without our vote, without our consent, and without even the decency of consultation, has designated the African diaspora as it's so-called the 6th region. Shout out to Red Sigma. Somebody type 6th region in the chat room. And make no mistake, that's just a diplomatic way of saying we want access to foundational Black American money. Why? Because they've crunched the numbers and they've seen the data. And as of 2023, Black Americans in the United States hold over $1.9 trillion in spending power. And according to Black Enterprise and Nielsen projections, that number is expected to exceed $2 trillion in 2025. We're not talking about small change. We're the largest, most influential group of non-white consumers in the Western Hemisphere. And now, with delineation happening, we're no longer allowing our lineage to be hijacked or diluted. These African nations are scrambling to rebrand this Pan-African unity narrative. They want our dollars to build their infrastructure. They want us to invest in their economies. They want us to buy land that they sold us off of, by the way. They want us to start businesses and boost their tourism. Let me ask you all something. How do you sell your own people into slavery 400 years ago, stay silent for centuries, and then turn around in 2019 with this so-called year of return and say, come back and help us rebuild? That wasn't even a spiritual homecoming. That was a marketing campaign. And now in 2025, they're trying to formalize it through policy. They want to tap into our spending power, our activism, and our political capital. But they don't want to deal with the trauma, the burden, the blood cost that came with being born in America. They just want our money. Let's be real. Many of these African governments don't even care for their own people. They're selling off their resources to the highest European bidder while their own citizens struggle. And now they want to exploit our legacy. And this is why delineation is necessary. This is why reparations must be lineage-based, because if we don't draw the line, we will continue to be used as a global piggy bank for people who neither respect nor understand our specific lineage and struggle. This fight is no longer about justice. It's about economic sovereignty, and foundational Black Americans will not be used, not by white supremacists, and certainly not by Black opportunists abroad. Now, as we speak, these African nations are uniting and organizing with a clarity of purpose, demanding reparations from their former European colonizers and the United States. At the 38th African Union Summit held in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia in February 2025, this year, dozens of African heads of state backed by civil society coalitions such as, I believe it's called ECO, SOCC, they launched a continent-wide campaign for reparatory justice. They've declared the 2025 the year of justice for Africans and the people of African descent through reparations. And what exactly are they demanding? They want financial compensation for the slave trade and colonial plunder. Y'all sold us into slavery. They didn't plunder. Y'all sold us into slavery. They want official state apologies and historic accountability. They want policy reform to dismantle systems of neo-colonial extraction. They want land restitution for territory seized under the imperial conquest. And they want the return of these stolen cultural artifacts. They didn't ask us to, they want their stuff back. They don't want us back. They want us to stay over here and keep making money. But I want to break that down so you understand what's happening, right? I want y'all to be well aware. These African governments, these modern day successor states, because remember, all these countries, Nigeria just showed up 50 years ago, right? So these successor states of the slave trading kingdoms and these warlord dynasties are now asking Europe to pay them money for their role in selling our ancestors into slavery. Let me repeat that. They want money, land, and apologies and power from Europe for the very slave trade they themselves initiated, facilitated, and profited from. There are still Black people being sold into slavery today in Africa. Do you hear me? Today, they're still selling people into slavery. Today. So make no mistake. It wasn't just Europeans raiding African villages. It wasn't no Europeans raiding African villages. They were standing on the coast. They would just pull up and pick up. It was African kings and queens and tribal chiefs and warrior clans who captured other Africans and sold them wholesale to the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, and the English merchants. That was a business arrangement. Those were your business partners. Those weren't African merchants dealing in African flesh. Those were African merchants dealing in African flesh. They weren't victims. They were co-conspirators in genocide. So when African countries stand before the world crying foul, demanding reparations from Europe, what they're really doing is asking for payment over the bodies they helped load onto the slave ships. That's like an arsonist suing the fire department for water damage. They want Europe to atone? Fine. Okay, y'all run with that. But who's going to atone for the slave castles that are still there? For the 40 plus major slave ports dotting the coast from Senegal all the way down to Angola. What about Elamina? What about Goree Islands? Who's going to account for the African nations that got rich and built kingdoms and consolidated power by selling our people for rum, guns, and textiles? They're asking Europe to return land and artifacts. But they ain't asking America to return the descendants they sold off, are they? And you know what? On principle, I support their right to do that. If France brutalized Senegal, then France should pay. If Belgium ravaged the Congo, Belgium should be held accountable. Africa suffered real losses under colonialism, losses in land, culture, autonomy, human dignity. Those claims are legitimate. But here's where the problem begins. While African nations stand boldly and unapologetically in front of Europe, demanding compensation for harms rooted in shared colonial past, they have the nerve and the gall to condemn foundational Black Americans when we direct similar demands towards them, brought by yours truly. Let me make it plain. They argue that Ghana shouldn't have to answer for what the Ashanti Kingdom did. They claim Nigeria is absolved for the crimes committed by the Biafra slave ports. They say Benin shouldn't have to account for the Dahome's mass human trafficking of our ancestors. Their excuse? Those weren't nation states. Those nations didn't exist at the time. It was a different time. We weren't the same people. We was different. Well, now you calling us Region 6. You saying we are. We are, we not. Can you all see the blatant double standard? Because I swear to God, I promise you, it had to be 3 or 4 months ago. I said, look, what we need to do, family, is we need to sue Africa. We need to get the laws changed to give us permission to sue Africa for the slave trade, the illegal part of the slave trade, because it was legal all the way up to 1807. The legal part of the slave trade where they still had the slave ports open after slavery was illegal for things like the flotilla. We need to sue them. And all the internet exploded. And the first thing they said was, those nations didn't exist at the time. And here we are. Ain't God good? Here we are in July, 3 months later, and Uncle D has been vindicated. Isn't that something? Successor state liability. Isn't that something? I mean, that's just beautiful for me. Uncle D is right again. See? Because many of those European nations they want to sue didn't exist. The petition didn't exist in their current form when colonialization and slavery took place. Italy wasn't unified until 1861. Germany was a patchwork of kingdoms until 1871. Belgium didn't even exist during the height of the transatlantic slave trade. It was created in 1830. Yet they want to sue Belgium for what Leopold II did in the Congo, which is his personal property. So let's get this straight. African nations can sue successor European states for atrocities committed by emperors and empires and kings and defunct governments. But somehow we foundational Black Americans aren't allowed to hold African countries accountable for the tribal kingdoms and clans and royal armies and what they did to our ancestors. Nah, That's not how justice works. That's not how the law works. That's not how morality works. And let me say this to the critics loud and clear. If you support Africa's right to pursue reparations from Europe and those European countries, then you cannot in good conscience turn around and say foundational Black Americans' claims against Africa are invalid. You can't have it both ways. You can't weaponize history when it benefits you and dismiss it when you're on the hook. Because if you believe in justice, real reciprocal justice, then you have to be willing to confront the role African nations played in enslaving their own and how that legacy materially benefits from the same states today. Which brings me to the next point. And this is where the mask comes off. Successor state liability works both ways. And we're calling the question. Let me be clear. This debate is no longer theoretical. It's legal. It's historical. It's intentional. All right? And most of all, it's personal. I hear critics whine and moan. Dennis, you can't seek reparations from African nations. Nigeria wasn't even a country when the transatlantic slave trade was active. Ghana didn't exist. Dahomey and Benin were kingdoms, not modern states. But these critics are silent. They dead silent when African nations like Ghana and Senegal stand before the United Nations and demand reparations from Britain, France, Portugal, and Germany. I want to educate you all on successor state liability. It is a well-established tenet of international law. It holds that when a new government or state forms, whether from a kingdom or a colonial administration or a tribal federation, it inherits not just the land and the resources, but also the obligations, debts, and legal responsibilities from its predecessor. If modern-day Belgium owes reparations for atrocities committed by the Congo Free State under King Leopold, and it does, I agree with that, then modern-day Benin owes reparations for slaves sold by the Kingdom of Dahomey to foundational Black Americans. If France owes Senegal for colonial plunder, then Ghana owes foundational Black American descendants for the Ashanti's participation in the capturing and selling of our ancestors into slavery. Let's be brutally honest here. Africa is demanding reparations from nations in Europe that didn't exist in their current form during the slave trade. Italy wasn't unified. Germany was a whole bunch of kingdoms. Belgium was literally born out of a revolution in 1830, yet nobody questions their right to be held financially liable for the crimes of their predecessors. Meanwhile, we say Benin, Nigeria, Ghana, you must account for the Dahomey, the Igbo, and the Ashanti and what they did. And the critics scream, but those aren't the same countries. Miss me with that weak logic. You can't invoke successor state liability when it benefits African nations trying to sue Europe and then deny it to my foundational Black American brothers and sisters because you don't like us. We already know you don't like Americans. You don't like foundational Black Americans. You're jealous of us anyway. The biggest critics are the Pan-Africans and these foreign tethers out here who've tethered themselves to our ship. And you're doing nothing but holding us back at this point. You don't get to flip the table when the bill shows up with your name on it. African nations can't claim sovereignty and land rights and international recognition and a membership in global institutions while simultaneously pretending to be disconnected from their historical predecessors. Shout out to Ashura Reborn. If they want to inherit the glory, the land, the mineral wealth, then they also inherit the guilt, the legal liability, and the debt. Shout out to Nucleus. And see, this is what real Pan-African accountability looks like. Not Instagram slogans, not kente cloth and photo ops, not reciprocal justice, not taking a damn flight from New York or New Jersey or Washington, D.C. for some damn reunion on some dusty coast in Africa. 400 years too late. You want to unite as a continent to sue Europe? Cool, do that. We'll stand back and let you cook. But don't knock on our door when the check comes due on your side. So to my critics, either you stand on the side of historical truth and legal consistency or get out the way because the train is moving. Now, I'm going to take the opportunity, praise God, to thank all of the beautiful people who contributed to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. I want to take the opportunity. We got 18 Super Chats. I know y'all learned something tonight. We got 1,000 people up in here. Y'all better hit the like button. You better subscribe too. I'm gonna start hitting that button. You can only say something if y'all got me and ran my blood pressure up, got me so running high. All these critics and people out here talking stuff about me, telling me I'm afraid to go after the white man. I go after everybody. Anybody can get it. I'm from LA, baby. I represent my side to the fullest. I don't care who y'all, mamas, grandmamas, anybody can get it. That's the mentality I have. Straight up, straight down. No frills, no thrills. That's my get down. West side to the casket drop. You understand? That's a mentality most of y'all don't understand. I represent my side. You understand, homie? My side is foundational Black Americans, partner. You understand me? Anybody can get it. You understand? That's what we got. You got to have. I'm the advocate for my side. For a long time, I was on here representing for my brothers. And I did a great job at it, didn't I? Tell the truth. Anytime somebody stood up and tried to knock down one of the brothers, I don't care if it was Aaron the plumber, Kevin Samuels, Deshaun Washington, I stood in the cut. I shut that whole thing down. When they was trying to talk bad about Kevin Samuels, I beat the whole internet back for like 2 weeks straight. One man in a microphone. That's what I did. I'm the one, look, I'm the one that came in and shut down the Pookie and Ray Ray wars versus the educated lane. I came in and shut that down in a ferocious manner. I did that. See, a lot of you all are just getting introduced to who I am and what I do over here. I am notorious on these internet streets, on these YouTube streets. I will sue you. I will get your channel shut down. I had a police come pick you up and call your probation officer. You won't be on YouTube anymore. Keep playing with me. It's not a game. And it just so happens that I have segued over into representing my foundation of Black American brothers and sisters. So shout out to me again for unity. We're going to end this whole war of, look, all the Black brothers and sisters. Let me explain something to you. This whole war to sexes, I don't know. We can get back to talking crap about each other later on. Give it a few years. But right now, we're going to put all our efforts and energy into regulating these outsiders who've come up in here and infiltrated and messing with us. You understand me? We're gonna lay waste to them first. We're gonna put hands on them. You understand me? We're gonna put elbows on them first, and we can get back to shooting the crap with each other. But for the most part, Black American men and Black American women have gotten along great for years. We've done a lot together. Okay? And I just want y'all to know I take personal pleasure in whooping people's ass. I'm just saying, I enjoy it. I like a whooping ass sometimes, man. You know, see all these things up on the wall. I'm old, 51 years old. I'll be whooping ass every day. You understand? Jiu-jitsu, kung fu, everything, baby. That's what I do. I even got my kids out here whooping ass, and I enjoy it. So keep playing. Keep on playing. Don't let these little beautiful roses for the ladies. Don't let these roses fool you. But anyway, let me get back to what I was doing. Y'all got me turned up here, boy. Praise God. Look here. Shout out to Intricately Tangled. Keep talking over the video. I'm going to keep talking over the videos. Thank you, baby. Who else we got? Johnny Harris. One man reasons why these groups can't get along is common denominator. That's ... white folk. Shout out to you, man. Johnny Harris. Something we must remember is that FBA, we got 21 super chat. Can we get 25? I done lost my voice arguing with y'all. Yelling at the internet. Can we get 25 super chat? Let me get 4 more, and that'll be good to go. Johnny Harris, something we must remember as FBA, we are Shemites. Hebrews and Africans are Hamites. Hamites sold Shemites into slavery, not Hamites. All right, appreciate it, brother. We appreciate the religious lesson. Johnny Harris, immigrants fullback for Jim Crow. Yeah, I will say some wild stuff. I need to cut it out. Mike Mayaka El Mikael. You just call yourself Michael. Michael, your name is Michael. Okay, just call yourself Michael. Stop being fancy. Your name is Michael. Thank you, Michael. Talented 10. Louis Harper, thank you so much. Appreciate what you do. Thank you, sir. Yes, no problem. Ashra Reborn, thank you so much. Appreciate you too. Who else we got? We got Michael J. He said, level set this Blizzard King. I shall. Who else we got? Narratives and Dialogues. Frat, thanks for covering this. No disrespect to the lead attorney, but you will never hear him speak on this. Also, we need to get these anti-black tether queens out of the black manosphere too. Thank you so much. Big up to you. Thank you. Who else we got? Let me see here. We got Lord Gia. Hey, what's up, my little brother, man? Lord Gia, I hope you're doing good. Preach good, Uncle D. Those people are absolutely and totally against black Americans. We are on our own. People, thanks for a million. Blizzard King, good looking out, little brother. Always good to see you up and about and doing your thing. Reviewing, reviewers, reviews. Your strategy for suing African is highly viable. We can see that more and more with each passing day as black emits attack our people and culture. Yeah, man, why y'all, you romanticize people that don't even like you. You know what I'm saying? The best, let me tell you something, and I want you all to understand how I think as an attorney. The best, and I've written this in my books, the best way to get somebody's attention is to punch them in the mouth. I don't mean that figuratively. I don't mean that literally. I literally mean to use legal system to cause them some immediate and pain. Okay, we have a hard time with these African countries. They don't give us what we're supposed to get. They give us red tape. They treat us poorly when our people go over there. Part of the reason I didn't bother going to the year of return is I saw how poorly they were treating our African Black American women who went over. People working hard, you retire, you want to move to Africa. They meet up with some, African scammer, and he scams them out of the money, and she builds a house, and he ends up in the house, and a lot of sisters disappear whenever. I'm like, nah, I'm not. I was planning to go over there, and I was going to bring my sons over there for the year of return, okay? But, after I found out how foundational Black Americans were being treated over there, I was like, nah, I'm not going somewhere where they treat my people bad. But since my people do want to go, what's the solution? The solution is to say, Africa, we're suing you, and we're going to hit you for $3 or $4 trillion. We're going to begin to seize your oil revenues and your oil rights and all these people that you have who are dignitaries and politicians who put their money in European and American banks. We're going to seize those proceeds also. We're going to take everything you have until this full debt is paid for your part in the American slave trade. We've convinced our president and our Congress to enact a law to allow us to sue you, and we're going to prove our lineage and prove that you stole us. And then it's going to happen because we're Americans and we can do what the hell we want to do. Shout out to the USA. I'm going to say that again. Brothers and sisters, I want you to remember that we are Americans, and as Americans, we can do what the hell we want to do. If our Congress decides to enact a law and it's passed by both houses of Congress and the United States president signs it into law and it is otherwise constitutional, then we can do it. If they give us permission to sue these African nations for what they've done, that's it. What are they going to do? They're going to come over here and fight it, and we're going to say, okay, great, now you lost. We get to sue African. We get to be Americans suing African nations or representatives of their nations in American courts, and we get to seize their money. We get to seize their revenue. Everybody does business with the United States. I don't mind, you guys. Let me say this. Let me just get up. I want to get up close. And I've told the brothers this before. Let me tell all you black folk, listen to me. The problem with foundational Black Americans is you're too nice. Okay? You're too nice. You're too nice. You're too accommodating. You're too easy to get along with. And that's your problem. We love you for it. Everybody loves you for it, right? They love us, but they don't treat us right. And I'm one of those black people that grew up hard. And I've recognized a long time ago that I don't have to be nice. In fact, I enjoy being ruthless. You know, on the internet here on YouTube, they know me as the bad guy. Shout out to the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. I don't mind being the bad guy. And if more foundational Black American men and women were like me, then we would be catching a lot less flack than we're catching from these immigrants right now. You all, I would give the word, we would give the way, it would be unspoken. We would shut all this down. Uncle D is the bad guy. That's why they call me the Blizzard King, because I'm going to give you the cold, hard truth. All right? I have no problem suing Africa on behalf of my foundational Black American brothers and sisters because my loyalty is 100% with the Black Americans over here. My loyalty and my allegiance is 100% to the Black American men, women, and children in the United States of America. These are my people. These, win, lose, or draw, good, bad, and ugly, from ghetto ratchet to snooty, high scale, but bougie, all, these are my people. And when it comes to me choosing between my people and somebody else's people or some other nation and my nation, I'm going to choose my people and my nation 100% of the time. And if that makes me the bad guy, I'm perfectly fine with that. My people will love me. When I gone on and pass on to the next world, they'll say he loved us and he went to bat for us and he ain't really care who thought about it. Because as long as your people love you, you'll live forever. Your legacy is intact. So I need all of my foundational Black Americans to develop that same mentality. Let's put aside this war that we having amongst Black men and Black women. We can get back to capping and jawing on each other and roasting each other later. Okay, let's deal with the immediate threat. We got immigrants, Black immigrants, Latino immigrants, Asian immigrants coming at us sideways. And we need to deal with them because if they have their way, there will be no Black America. They will co-opt it, they will corrupt it. And these people don't have a culture that can even sustain Black America or any Black folk in America. So you need to be 100% dedicated to being a foundational Black American. All the Caribbeans and Africans, if you down with us, you down with us. If you 100% on our side, we're cool. Prove it. I'm open. Come on in, baby. I love my African brothers and sisters and Caribbean brothers and sisters, but I will hit you upside the head if you out of pocket, because this is my land. And I would expect if I went to your country, and I was out of pocket in your country, you would check me the same way. If I came to Kingston, Jamaica, and I was talking reckless about people in Jamaica and talk about how bad y'all are, you don't have culture and you deficient and I'm doing better than you, somebody would go upside my head. Same thing in Accra, same thing in Lagos. But see, the thing is, you're going to respect me as a man. You're not going to come to my country and talk bad about my people. I don't care if she butt naked, walking down the street, she ghetto, whatever. That's still my sister. It's on me to talk to her. I got my brother, Pookie, Ray, tattoos under his eyelids, ghetto sound. You not going to sit up there and talk bad about him without me saying something. You got your own people. You got some kufus over there that's out of pocket. You got your own YNs in Nigeria. You deal with them. I'm going to deal with my people because you don't understand my people. I do. And part of the reason we're delineating because we're not going to let outsiders come in and down us in front of us. And so all you found, again, this is a call to arms, figuratively, of course, because I'm a lawyer. It's a call to arms. We need to lock arms and we need to put these people in check. Again, I got much love for so many Caribbean and African brothers and sisters, but at the end of the day, respect is something that in boundaries is something that needs to happen. You understand? I'm just trying to tell y'all, man, and I'm the one, I'm here for it. I'm a South Central LA hardhead, born and raised, and I don't mind representing my side. And y'all got to be willing to represent our side. This is our side because everybody else is lined up against us. What we gonna do? Huh? We gonna let them keep running up on us and doing us dirty and taking our things and disrespecting us? Nah, they're gonna get that work. And that's all I'm saying. But anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and get back to reading these beautiful super chats. So my man said immigration played a role in knocking FBAs off their square. Yes, it did. They came in and now they're buffers. We got 27 super chats. Let me go ahead and get 30. Y'all need to give me 30 super chats if you learn something. If not, oh well. Goof, I can't say that. Grow Poofers. Well, I don't super sticker. Thank you for Saga. Thank you so much. And also Sage, Talk Media, Jesse Jackson, the Rainbow Coalition sold us out. D3300. Thank you for the super sticker. Red Sigma, the gender war is mostly black immigrant. I could believe that, bro. The way these black dudes and these folk treat they black women in these other countries, I can see why they mad. They come up here and finally get some freedom and they want to tell it. These black immigrant dudes treat their women bad. We don't treat black American women bad. We love black women. Our grandmas and so on and so forth. I don't know a man yet that love his mama more than a black man in America does. So yeah, somebody needs to look into that. Ashra Reborn, thank you so much for the super sticker. Nucleus, Uncle D, you shifted on him. Yes, I did. Who else we got? Solemn 321. We need financial war chest to sue the hell out of everybody. Let's get those super chats, family. Nah, you not. Let me get this straight. Y'all don't have to give me a dime for. I'm not trying to do no GoFundMe for a lawsuit. Nah, if I'm gonna sue them, and they gonna pay. I'm gonna do it because it needs to be done. You understand me? I'm not one of these charlatans on here trying to take your money and stuff like that. If you want to pay, give me a super chat for learning something. I'm perfectly acceptable with that. You understand? But as far we're not trying to develop a war chest. I'm just trying to educate the people. I might not even be the one to pick this thing up. This thing might get picked up in 30 years. By some young lawyers or some of y'all's children might see this and say, yeah, you should look into that. There was this lawyer way back in the day I used to listen to on YouTube. But, so that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I love my people. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad once said in a Bible, he quoted that our people suffer from a lack of knowledge. And so I don't want you to suffer anymore. That's why I'm giving you this knowledge as necessary. And it's done out of love. Nevertheless, thank you so much for that heartfelt offer, man. Appreciate you. Johnny Sapp, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. Hassan Iribi, thank you so much, man. Johnny Sapp again. And also thank reviewers. One more gone love. One more again. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate you. Yaya Kid. Hey, Yaya Kids. Thank you so much. She says, salute Blizzard King. Boris Barracuda. We got 27 super chats. Are we going to be able to get to 30? That'd be great. Who else? Boris Barracuda. 2 turntables and a microphone. Uncle Do. Yeah, baby. Keep doing what you do. Broken Blade, thank you so much. Thank you, Coraletta Ivy. Thank you so much for that. And Broken Blade said, let the middle finger to the tethers and pookies and trolls keep trying to derail the combo. Vindicated. Amen to that. All right. So now I want to take the opportunity to close this thing out, man. All right. Y'all hit the number 1 button if you can hear me clearly. I want to take the opportunity to close this thing out. I want to thank everybody who contributed to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. We got 27 super chats. Shout out to everybody who did that. Let's see if we got any Cash Apps over here. I'm gonna read this before I proceed with this. We got like 7 Cash Apps. I'll read your first name or last name. I won't read both because I know people like their privacy. Shout out to Paxton. Shout out to thank you so much. Shout out to Armas. Thank you, family. I appreciate you. Shout out to Chuck. And I appreciate you all for what you do. Now, check this out, man. Let me be crystal clear about something. This debate is not theoretical. It's legal. It's historical. It's international. And most of all, it's personal. You understand? It's personal. Right? And I talk to you about why it's personal. You see? But at this particular juncture, you got people who came to this country illegally, not to become Americans, not to adopt a culture, not to contribute, but to extract. They came here with no goal but to make money and send it back to their home countries. That's it. No allegiance, no loyalty, no assimilation. And what happened? They overstayed their welcome. They planted roots here. They had children here who became U.S. citizens by virtue of being born in American soil, but those children weren't raised to love this country. They weren't raised with any sense of gratitude or civic duty. They were raised with resentment. They were taught to hate America from the dinner table on up. And so now these second generation kids walk around angry at a country they never tried to understand. Every time life doesn't go their way, every time they feel discomfort or discipline, they weaponize race and cry racism. They use identity as a crutch, not as a badge of honor, but as an excuse for underperformance and entitlement and lack of accountability. And it's not just the race card. They've romanticized their parents' and grandparents' stories about how amazing life was back home in Ghana and Nigeria and Jamaica, Trinidad. But let's be real, these kids have never actually lived there. If they've ever been, it was for some sort of quick summer trip, a wedding or a filtered photo op in front of some beach or historic site, and they did it for the gram. And they have no idea what it really means to live without electricity or clean running water or a functioning sewage system or security, like our great military men and women who stand on the wall and protect us. And their idea of struggle is that there's a Wi-Fi outage. Meanwhile, they claim to be victims in a country that provides them with infrastructure, public education, and access to opportunity that millions around the world can only dream of. And then it gets worse. They start reading revisionist history. A lot of these Mexicans and folks and some other people catch on saying Mexico was stolen, right? And that gets them activated. They start talking about how this land really belongs to them. Let me be clear something. I want to clear this up. The United States fought a war. Again, it was called the Mexican-American War. Black men fought alongside. And when the dust settled, Mexico was beaten decisively. California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, parts of Colorado and Utah were won in that blood. And still in the United States paid Mexico under the Treaty of Guadalupe, Hidalgo paid them $15 million, which is about $1 billion back then. So don't talk to me about stolen land. If you lose a war and still walk away with a check, you didn't get robbed, you got spared. The U.S. could have taken the whole thing. And if we're being brutally honest, in most of human history, the victor doesn't pay the vanquished. So don't show up to this country angry and entitled and confused, acting like a victim while enjoying the spoils of a system your ancestors never helped to build and your parents never tried to hold. This is exactly why foundational Black Americans must delineate. We don't want to be associated with these angry immigrants who are out here burning flags. We don't want to get caught up with them, especially the Black ones, because we bled for this country and we died for this country and been enslaved and segregated and lynched, and yet we still fought for justice and equality and democracy, not just for ourselves, but for everybody. And now folks who came here yesterday want to claim the same high moral ground. And we're not having that. See, one of the most common and telling encounters Black Americans have with African immigrants is being asked the question, where you from? And it never ends there. When you answer, I'm an American, they don't stop. They press further. No, but where are your people from? They're not asking out of curiosity or cultural bonding. It's not about getting to know you. It's about undermining you. It's about disassociation, because the truth is they only do this to you. See, when a Jamaican says they're Jamaican, the conversation ends there. When a Haitian says they're Haitian, that's it. Dominicans, Trinidadians, Barbadians, all of them are accepted at face value. No one presses further. Their answer is respected. But when a foundational Black American says, I'm American, the interrogation begins. That alone should tell you something deeply revealing. They do not recognize your identity. They want to strip you of it. They want to imply that you are a people with no roots and no land and no heritage, a people defined solely by slavery and trauma and loss. And what's worse is the intent behind it. This isn't about finding common ground with your fellow Black brother or sister. This isn't a warm invitation into Pan-African brotherhood or sisterhood. This is a veiled form of psychological warfare. They want to reduce you to an orphan. a nobody, a lost tribe. In their eyes, you are not an American in the dignified sense. You are an akata, a word that in many African languages is a slur for Black Americans, meaning wild, astray, feral cat or something, cat with no home. So what's really happening here? What's happening is that you are being othered on your own soil. They're trying to tell you you don't belong here, even though your people have been here for 500, 600, 700 years, since 1313, many of us. You're being attacked with the language of displacement by people who just got here. They want to define you by your lack, by your disconnection, by your trauma. They use slavery, the very crucible that forged our strength, as a cudgel to shame you. They're not trying to unite, they're trying to demean. Shout out to Flowers Galore. Let's talk about the psychology behind that. This classic projection and deflection. Many African immigrants arrive from countries destabilized by corruption and tribalism and colonial aftermath and economic collapse. But instead of confronting the failings of their homelands, they project inferiority on you. They seek to assert superiority by mocking your identity and ridiculing your history and challenging your legacy. It's a defense mechanism, an insecure attempt to elevate themselves by cutting you down. That's not about race. It's not about color. If it were, they would treat you like family. But they don't. The truth is simple and sober. They don't hate you because you're Black. They hate you because you're an American. Your accent, your confidence, your culture, your swagger, your claim to citizenship, all of that triggers resentment. Shout out to Freedom MMC. We got 29 super chats. Maybe we'll get 30. You, foundational Black American people, are a product of a people who survived the most brutal system ever devised and still managed to build, create, and fight your way into the center of the world's most powerful nation. You are the face of the country they resent, the citizen they envy, the identity they try to erase and imitate. They want to soul swap with us. This is why they mock you while imitating your fashion, your music, your activism, and your culture. They disrespect you while standing on the platforms our people bled and died for. They question your identity because they covet it, but they can never truly claim it. So instead, shout out to Solomon 321, instead they try to cheapen it. They try to diminish it. They try to break it down. And that's why the question is, where you from isn't innocent. It's not a gesture of kinship. It's a challenge. It's a subtle assault on our roots, our legacy, and our power. It's a setup. It's an effort to strip us of the one thing that makes foundational Black Americans unique. You are the descendants of those who turned captivity into citizenship and oppression into ownership. So understand this. The insult isn't just personal, it's political, it's spiritual, it's existential. When they ask, where are your people from? What they really mean is you don't belong here. But the biggest lie of all, because you're more American than the flag itself. So you didn't arrive here. You were built here. Let me say that again. You were built here. You paid the cost, and now they want the benefits. That's the setup. That's the segue, because now you understand they want to use America. They want to use you. But you're not here to be used. You're here to build and to protect what our ancestors built. Their hate for you is because you're an American. And I'm telling y'all, we need to call it what it is. Envy disguised as critique, resentment cloaked in arrogance. Many Black immigrants, just like other immigrant groups, are finally being exposed for what they really think about this country and what they really think about you, foundational Black Americans. They don't just hate America, they hate us because we are America. You think they burning flags for no reason? They've been wanting to burn them flags because they hate our country. And we need to delineate away from these people. They walk into this nation with a chip on their shoulder, full of stories passed down from their parents and grandparents about how they came from this rich culture and they strong bloodlines and they're resilient people. And somehow those bedtime stories from back home morph into condensation toward you, the children of slaves who built this nation with their blood, bones, and brilliance. But here's the contradiction they can't escape. If everything was so darn good back home, it was so great in their homelands, it was so full of kings and queens and excellence, why did you come here? Why are they crowding our country and to claim what they say they despise? Up here claiming scholarships that we carved out of the civil rights struggle and standing on platforms built for our political capital. Why is it that when it's time to leave, they never do? We literally got to round them up and put them out. Somebody put that ICE phone number in the chat room. See, it's deeper than just they don't understand. They do understand. They see that as an FBA, you have a unique relationship to this country. You didn't just migrate here. You were born on this soil. You were built on this soil. You are of the soil. Your struggle is etched into the bricks of every city. Your blood is fertilized in every cotton field, every tobacco farm. You're indigenous by consequence to this land, and it burns them up. They resent you because you represent something they will never be, rightful heirs to the American story, rightful heirs to the American dream. And so their hatred manifests, not because you're lazy, not because you're loud, not because you're behind, but because you have birthright that they can never claim. And instead of showing respect and solidarity to many of them, they come here and parrot white supremacist talking points. They look down on you. They mock you. They step over your legacy while sucking up all the benefits your ancestors fought and died for. But now the mask is slipping. The truth is leaking out. And the world is starting to see the entitlement and the elitism and the anti-FBA venom that has been brewing behind closed doors and WhatsApp group chats. They brought their tribal rivalries and the colonial complexes and their domestic violence issues and their plantation mentalities and their colorism right here to our shores and tried to make you the enemy in your own homeland. Let's be clear. We're not asking anyone to worship our country. But if you're eating the fruit from our tree, don't spit on the roots. Don't pretend you're better than the very people whose suffering paved the way for your opportunity. We're not the same. And your hatred doesn't scare it. It only confirms what we've known all along. They want to use America and they want to use you. Caribbean blacks, African immigrants, don't just come to America seeking opportunity. They come wearing the costume of foundational Black Americans. They cosplay your pain, your culture, your struggle, and your victories. They wrap themselves in your identity like a costume when it suits them and parading as Black when it's time to claim affirmative action benefits and diversity scholarships and legacy admissions. But they shed it just as quickly when it's time to acknowledge who built the foundation they're standing on. They mimic your slang, your music, your fashion, your social justice slogans. They throw on the mask of descendants of slaves and survivors of Jim Crow, but they don't carry the weight of that history. They'll chant Black Lives Matter, but they weren't there when Black lives had to march in the streets of Selma and fight off the police dogs in Birmingham or walk into newly integrated schools under threat of death. They weren't redlined. They weren't mass incarcerated. I still got cousins in the penitentiary. They weren't shut out the GI Bill like our brothers who came back from World War II, like their white counterparts who were able to work their way into the middle class at the help of the government for their patriotic heroic duty. See, that history belongs to foundational Black Americans and foundational Black Americans alone. We belong here. Yet somehow they managed to benefit from it. They reaped the rewards that came from our bloodline, our sweat, our tears, then got the nerve to look down on us once they've gotten their green card or their government contract. They mock us in their own languages. They whisper stereotypes about us at home. They call us lazy. They tell us they call us violent. They tell us we're ungrateful while still feeding off the system we forced this country to create. And it doesn't stop there. They use America the same way they use you, my brothers and sisters, as a means to an end. The goal isn't to build up America, it's to extract, it's to take what they can and send it back to their homelands. Billions in remittance leave this country every year, never touching the Black American community. You wonder why money is not circulating in the Black community? Because they sending it back to Jamaica, and they sending it to Ghana, and they sending it to Trinidad, and they sending it to the Bahamas. That money doesn't help our neighborhoods. You want to recycle Black dollars? Stop letting these people send all their money that they make from Black people back to these other countries to help theirs. See, that loyalty isn't to the United States. And it damn sure isn't to you. Their allegiance is with the nations they left behind. America is just a stop on the route, a place to mine resources, and foundational Black Americans are just the stepping stones they walk over on the way. So let's stop pretending this is about unity. Let's stop pretending that skin color alone creates kinship. There's some Bloods and Crips from my neighborhood that could tell you that ain't true. Because see, while they smile in your face and marching on your movements, they're building elsewhere. They're investing elsewhere. They're dreaming elsewhere. They want to use America. They want to use you. And if you let them, that's exactly what they'll keep doing. So let's stop sugarcoating this thing. Stop it. They didn't come here to unify. They came here to extract. There's a massive financial incentive for certain nations to send their nationals to this United States, legally or illegally, because of the enormous volume of remittance sent back home. And we let them in. And now it's to the point, it's 25% of them comprising what we call Black America, and they got the nerve to call us Region 6 or the 6th region. And because we have all these African transports that have come to this country, they are positioning themselves to take our reparations for the atrocities committed to us in the Middle Passage and when we got over here. And it won't be new. Nigeria receives $20 to $21 billion annually in remittance. In other words, what I'm telling you, the African Nigerians who come to this country send $20 billion back to Nigeria, making it the largest single beneficiary of sub-Saharan Africa. In 2024 alone, this remittance increased by 9%, helping Nigeria post a $6.8 billion balance of payments and surplus. Ghana followed right behind. They got $4.6 billion from their nationals over here. And it's just going up and up and up. Even little nations like little Jamaica, they got $3.7 billion taken out of the Black community and sent to Jamaica. You understand me? This is not a minor side effect of immigration. It's a core economic engine for these countries. The money being earned in America by these Black immigrants who are oftentimes cosplaying Black Americans is not being reinvested in America or Black America. It's being funneled back overseas to support families and fund local businesses and even stabilize foreign currencies. Nigeria has gone so far as to create a $10 billion diaspora fund to attract even more remittance and flow and planning to issue diaspora bonds. They're clearly signaling this is a government sanctioned and strategically planned capital extraction model. The problem is that none of this money circulates in the U.S. economy, and it darn sure don't make it to the Black community. It bypasses Black American businesses and home ownership and opportunities and local schools and community infrastructure. So they get these Harvard and these Yale degrees, then they boot Black people, foundational Black Americans out the way, and they take the money and they send it back to these foreign countries. At the time when Black American wealth is still clawing back from generations of systematic economic discrimination, and this consistent outflow of capital only serves to deepen the disparities. Every dollar wired abroad is a dollar not invested in the communities that we live in. That's not global solidarity, it's economic opportunism, backed by both sending and receiving governments. Immigrants take jobs that should go to Black Americans and U.S. citizens, but more insidiously, they are siphoning wealth out of the country altogether. Unless this system is held accountable, and Donald Trump has imposed a 1% tariff on that, I think you should be more. A 1% tax, a surcharge. But if they don't do something about it, it's going to continue to compound inequality and layering new foreign wealth directly on the top of Black America's historical struggle while bypassing us entirely. They don't come here with loyalty to this country. They come here with reverence for our struggle. They don't come here to stand shoulder to shoulder with foundational Black Americans. They came to get what they can get and leave. They come here with a hustle. The hustle is use America, drain her dry, and wire the proceeds back to Ghana, Nigeria, Haiti, Jamaica, Trinidad, or wherever. That's wherever their allegiances rely. They're not economic migrants. They're not freedom fighters. They didn't face down Bull Connor's dog. They didn't march in Selma. They didn't integrate schools under threat of death. They didn't bury their sons and daughters under the boot of Jim Crow. But they want the spoils. They want Black scholarships. They want diversity set-asides. They want representation. But when it's time to speak up for you, for the people who built the foundation, their standing up is gone. They vanish. They go silent. Or worse, they talk down to you. Because in their eyes, you're not a freedom fighter. They see you as a fool. They see you as a sucker for believing in this racial solidarity that they don't even have in their own home countries. A sucker for embracing this foolish Pan-African unity. Well, you can't even unify with your own people right here. And you want to unify with people you have nothing in common with, you don't speak the language, you don't like their food, and most of y'all think they stink. Tell the truth. And on the flip side, they call you lazy, call you ungrateful, call you violent, call you entitled. And they tell their sons and daughters to stay as far away from you as possible. And these are the people you want to unify with? You a sucker for giving them the blueprint and the benefits while they mock your culture and your history and your trauma. You a fool. They want to live here, but they don't want to live with you. They don't want to spend here. They want to invest back home. They want to benefit from your legacy without contributing to it. And if you call it out, they accuse you of being divisive. No, division started with your disloyalty. There's no cultural familiarity. There's no racial loyalty. There's only opportunism. So if you fall for this fantasy of this global Black brotherhood without accountability, because we can have global Black brotherhood, but not without accountability or respect. But if you believe the skin color alone makes kinship, well then congratulations, you're just another mark. You're just another sucker waiting to be used and discarded. Foundational Black Americans didn't survive the worst hell this country had to offer just to become the sidekicks in someone else's hustle. We must draw a line, we must delineate, and we don't need to apologize for it. Let's stop pretending that melanin alone makes us family. It doesn't. Hell, we know family will stab you in the back faster than anybody else any damn way. And most of y'all know you more in danger from getting unalived by another black person than you are by the whitest of white people. Let's tell the truth. So when black immigrants from Africa or the Caribbean look at you as a foundational black America, they don't see brother or sister. They see a different tribe. They see a different nation. They see competition. And that's why they can walk past your struggle without blinking. That's why they can look down their nose at you while standing on your foundation. They don't see you as one of us. They see you as one of those Americans. And it's not some misunderstanding. It's not just cultural difference. It's tribal. And we've seen this play out across the globe time and time again. Shout out to Sage Talk Media. Think about what happened in South Africa just a few years ago. Nigerians and Zimbabweans and the Congolese were attacked and beaten and driven out by their fellow black South Africans. Why? Because they were seen as outsiders, as foreigners who didn't belong. They accused them of taking resources and stealing jobs and flooding the market. And so the so-called Pan-African unity collapsed into violence and bloodshed. And these were Africans in Africa. Or what about Rwanda? When you had two African groups, the Hutu and the Tutsi, they descended into one of the most horrific genocides in modern history. Over 800,000 people unalived, not by European colonizers, but by their own fellow black people, neighbors. They saw them as the other. You think they won't turn that same tribal lens against you if they get power over here? They're already doing it. And we make money, more money than them, and we outnumber them. You think your black skin, they don't even think you're black. Not black like them. But do you think your black skin protects you from that mindset? You need to wake up. And this is why when you try to unify, when you talk about global black solidarity, it falls flat. Because you're trying to build bridges with people who were never taught to love you. You're trying to link arms with those who see you as see your citizenship as arrogance and your existence as entitlement and your history as inconvenient. And that's the bitter truth. My dear foundational Black American brothers and sisters, you are hated not because you failed, but because you survived and because you succeeded. Because in spite of slavery, in spite of Jim Crow, in spite of redlining and COINTELPRO and mass incarceration and systematic sabotage, you are still here. And you are still proud. And you are still successful. And more importantly, you are still American. And that infuriates them. They don't want to unify. They don't want to unify with you. They want to replace you. They want the spoils of your struggle without your scars. They want access to your achievements while ridiculing your ancestors. And when you delineate and when you say we are not the same, suddenly you're divisive. No, what's divisive is their silent contempt. What's divisive is the way they cluster in corners and speak in their native tongues, marking your dialect and undermining your experience as if they weren't in this country because you made it livable. See, FBA have the wisdom to know something deeper. We can work with white folk. We can build with white folk. Okay? We can even live around white folk. But we can't fully trust them. Because at the end of the day, we've been tied together in blood, war, and labor and in politics for 400 plus years. There's a brutal familiarity that we have with white people. And we know what to expect. But when these African immigrants come over here, there's no familiarity, no shared trauma, no mutual understanding, just smiles covering jealousy and accents cover contempt. And the quiet war being waged against your legitimacy in your own country. So what do? We delineate. We draw the line and say, you are not us. You can be a guest in this house, but you will never own it. We earn the deed with our bodies and our blood and our brilliance. We separate, we stand apart, we stand tall. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, what we've just witnessed in this broadcast is a necessary, long overdue reckoning, a confrontation with the uncomfortable but undeniable truth. Foundational Black Americans are under siege, not just by usual forces of white supremacy, but by those who come with familiar skin and foreign intentions. We are now facing a crisis where our culture, our legacy, and our hard-won political ground are being culturally hijacked by Black immigrants, both from Africa and from the Caribbean. Individuals who too often do not share our lineage or our historical struggle or our sense of duty to protect what we've built in this country. And we must ask the hard questions. Why do so many come here not to collaborate, but to consume, compete, and ultimately replace? We're seeing the effects everywhere, from media outlets like Essence and the Shade Room, which no longer reflect our voices or our values, to cultural spaces and economic platforms that were carved out by our blood, only to be bought out and rebranded by those who contributed little to their foundation. This is more than just disrespect. It's cultural colonization. Pan-Africanism was once a powerful idea rooted in global Black unity. And now it's just some sort of faith-based fantasy. It's a religious-like worship. It's a idealization of Africa. But we not gonna hold Africa accountable for what it's done to us? It's a one-way street. It's symbolism. It's a sacrifice that flows one way. It left us politically stagnant and culturally exposed. And the diaspora wars and xenophobia versus accountability, we need to clarify what that is. I'm not xenophobic. I'm not being petty. This is a strategic boundary setting. I love my people. I love my foundational Black American people, and you all are trying to take advantage of us. And I have children who are foundational Black Americans. So when I say FBA first, we're not being divisive, we're being honest. We've spent decades fighting in this country only to be told by newcomers that we're too emotional and lazy and too ungrateful for opportunity we allow them to exploit. And then after they receive the benefits of the movement, they separate themselves from us. That's when the flags come out. They're not Black like us. That's not unity. Again, that's opportunism. And if pointing that out makes people uncomfortable, so what? Let's not stop there. We also have to look in the mirror. Much of the degradation of Black American culture, particularly through some of this media and this buffoonery, is self-inflicted. Too many of us have not stamped out the dysfunction that's in our own houses and communities. We support the very media that degrades us. Now, given many of these rappers who come out of the Caribbean, Uncle Luke, Nicki Minaj, Lil Kim, Biggie Smalls, all of these people with this degenerate rap, we listened to it, we consumed it. But still, had we been gatekeeping and doing a better job, hip hop might have been the thing it was set out to be. Another uncomfortable truth. My brothers, step to the front of the room. Brothers, Black masculinity is in crisis. I go a long way every day. I put videos up of me boxing, and I put videos up of me playing with my kids, whether it's on Instagram. I'm messing up the algorithm. I should be putting all this stuff up, but I put videos up of me interacting with my sons and doing manly things, whether it's washing the cars or hunting or boxing or doing jujitsu or wrestling. Because we need to step up as men and be masculine men, whether you single or married or whatever. Too many men, too many black men are taking a back seat. You're silent in your homes. You're passive in the communities. You're invisible in the media. We've allowed all this femininity and this chaos to dominate our discourse, while men who try to lead are shouted down, ashamed into submission, oftentimes under threat by other men. We got grown men out here wearing fingernail polish and calling it freedom, while our sons are being buried in droves and daughters are being left unprotected in Chicago and every city around the world. In America, it's time for black men to stand up, brothers. You got to stand up. You got to speak. Look at me. You're not going to ever find another lawyer like me to put this out on the line. Every night I'm here. Every night I'm putting up something. I've had people write the Bar Association on me. I've had folk call the FBI on me. I threatened to sue the FBI, made them back down too. That's something else I did. I'm not going to stop talking to my people and trying to uplift my people and get us to head back to the direction that we need to head back to. But I need some help. And I can't depend on these women. They've had the microphone for 6 years. It's time for black men to stand up, to speak up, and lead with strength, discipline, clarity, and morality. Not emotion, not aesthetics, but strength. And so I challenge black men in particular to reclaim leadership within your family and your communities. I challenge you to begin to make your image more appealing. I know what you're doing. You're some of the greatest fathers in America. You're some of the most involved fathers in America. You're the hardest working men in America. But we're going to win on the optics. A great man said that. Shout out to the late, great Kevin Samuels. We're going to win on the optics and the emotion. So you need to be seen doing the things that men do. This effeminized behavior, this lack of discipline, and the failure to model integrity. We're not giving direction to the future generations, the same things you didn't get. See, legacy is what this is really about. We're watching Black America and our culture be erased in real time. Not just through whitewashed school books and sanitized museum exhibits, but through our own complacency and silence. Shout out to Kareem Sharif. It's being replaced by hood culture, by shock culture, by a version of blackness that is loud but hollow, flashy but forgettable. We're trading our great, decent legacy, our moral legacy, for likes and our dignity for digital applause. And finally, we need to start building. We need to not let disrespect go unchecked. You can't just feel empowered to build power. We need to do the same as everybody else in every other group. You want to be respected globally? We need to respect ourselves locally. We cannot outsource our liberation and our legacy. We need to reclaim our image, rebuild our institutions, and regain control over what it means to be Black men and Black women in America. So no, this isn't about isolation. This isn't about insulation. This isn't about divisiveness. It's about protecting what's ours from being diluted and distorted and destroyed. If you come in peace, shout out to all the African brothers and sisters and Caribbean brothers and sisters who come in peace with respect, we will build with you. But if you come to extract, exploit, or erase, then you're part of the problem. And as for us, my foundational Black American brothers and sisters, it's time to draw a hard line in the sand and say with one unified voice, we are not your stepping stones. We are not your entry pass. We are not going to sit quietly while our legacy is co-opted and erased. From here on out, we're moving with strategy and sentiment. We're done performing unity while being disrespected. We are done carrying the emotional baggage of the diaspora while neglecting our own house. And if you're not building with us, you will not benefit from us. Let that be the final word, and let it echo across the generation and the next and the next and the next. We are foundational Black Americans, and we will not be erased. God bless you all. I love you. This is Uncle D, and as I always say at this time, I'm out.
Dennis Spurling.
In the city where the lights don't sleep, Uncle D got the vibe so deep. Representing men strong and free. Dennis Spurling's the king of the spree. In the streets where the rhythm flows, Black men rising, that's how it goes. Uncle D got the truth to show. In his heart, that's where the fire glows. Late night tuning, light up the stream. Dennis Spurling, wisdom gleam. Voices whisper truth and insight. In his podcast, feel the light. Harmony in every word. Truth and laughter you've heard. Wave after wave of smooth delight. Dennis brings the dark to light. That's the Lineage, baby! Share the tales unfold. Stories born like morning gold. Feeling the wisdom in the subscribing like time after time.
Black men, black men, black men. I want to salute you. Your incarceration rate is down. The education rate is up. We up. We went from, we are doing great for ourselves. So you should salute yourself. Shout out to all the brothers out there, whether you're a truck driver or engineer, whether you're an electrician or garbage man, a doctor, a lawyer, if you a hard-working brother, if you fresh out the penitentiary, but you on your grind and you doing it legal and you trying to make amends for yourself, man, I salute you too, brothers. God bless you. This is Uncle D, and you know, I'm out.